Thank you, gentlemen. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kit Spence. I'm the electoral officer or the election commissioner for your election. My responsibility is to ensure the good functioning of this election and to be loyal to the electoral law that you have as part of your laws and constitution. The way we are going to do this meeting is the same as we did last night. It worked very well. I think everybody was happy with the way things worked out last night. We're going to start with the candidates for chief councillor, and then we'll go into the candidates for council. Each of the candidates has 3 minutes to make an opening statement, and then we'll take questions from the audience. People who want to ask questions get a minute to ask their question, because you're not here to make speeches, you're here to listen to the candidates. And then at the end of the hour that we have allocated for chief councillor candidates, we'll take a little break and then we'll go into the council candidates. Because we have so many candidates for council, we shortened up their introductory speeches to 2 minutes, and their responses to questions to a minute, and then their wrap-up comments for a minute. I think after the experience last night, people are getting a little bit more used to the time frame, and they're a little afraid of the bell, but I think it'll work out all right. We're also streaming this session live over the internet, and we had pretty good success with it yesterday. I think at the peak we had about 37 people online, and apparently we have actually better bandwidth here, and our IT crew has done a pretty good job. Right now we've got 8 people online. So this is an opportunity for people who are not here and who weren't in Alberni to watch the proceedings. The one thing I want to remind everybody of is that the candidates and the people who have served are doing a public service, or the candidates who have not served are offering to do a public service. And as such, they're deserving of a certain respect. So I'm happy to have you ask hard political questions of these candidates, but we won't accept any kind of personal attacks. This is it's an important job that these people have done or are offering to do, and they are deserving of your respect for doing that and for offering to do it. So ask hard political questions, but no personal attacks. And again, if you're going to ask questions, restrict your comments to a minute, because you're not here to make speeches, you're here to hear from the candidates. So, I get my trusty iPad out and get the timer working. We did a draw, as we did yesterday. We passed the hat around, and candidates drew numbers for speaking order. And Connie is consistent, if nothing else. She's number 2. And we're going to start tonight with Robert, and then Connie, and then Jeff. So Robert, if you want to step up here, that's fine. If you want to stay there, that's fine.
Holy, this is high. Need a chair. Well, first of all, thank you very much, and thank our own people for enabling us to be on our land today. It's actually one of the most exciting things, when we can really say we're Hōʻaet. This is where we're from. This is our place of origin. This is where our forefathers came. And this is where our forefathers utilized the land, utilized the resources. And I believe our forefathers left us a really legacy. When I look at, say, Clifford's parents, my parents, John's grandparents, they were fishermen. And when they wanted to enter the fishing industry, they built their own boats. And they went and pursued a living fishing salmon and fishing halibut. To me, that's where I learned what I must do in life. If I want to do something, I must learn that skill so that I can have a sustainable income while I live at home. And that brings me right to what is one of the priorities of my platform. Our Constitution says that we must provide every opportunity for our people to work within our government structure. So jobs, jobs, jobs. Because if our people aren't working, and that's what happened to us, we moved away from home. There was no longer work at home, so people moved away. So that becomes one of the most important things. And I believe that our laws give us the leeway that we must hire our own people. We must provide opportunity for our people. And we should enforce that and use that law to our advantage. Because if we have our people working, that means our community will strive even more. The sky becomes the limit, because we need our people to have a sustainable income. If they don't have a sustainable income, they can't provide for their own living. If they don't have income, they can't pursue the health benefits that they need. And so these are the important things. And the second most important thing for me is that the people must be involved in our self-government. We should not park our people out in right field and say, oh, we'll call you when we need you to rubber stamp something. No. The people should be asked and participating and telling the government what their priorities should be. I only got 2 minutes here. Thank you very much. Just kidding.
Everybody agreed to the rules at the beginning, and we're going to stick to the rules, and I'm just the enforcer. I didn't make the rules. Connie?
Can you see me? I need a step. I'm going to be consistent, as Kit says, and share with you my same comments that I shared last night. So I appreciate you all for coming out to the candidates meeting. If elected for Chief Counselor, I will lead an open and honest government that builds trust, communicates openly with all citizens, and treats everyone's views with respect. I will operate within the law, but not lose sight of who we are as Huu-ay-aht, meaning our culture, our language, and what we have been taught by our ancestors. We survived a war that nearly wiped us out. We survived the Catholic Church. We survived INAC. This shows the strength we have as a family, as a united nation. This is what I want to build on. I have seen us become divided over business decisions. At the end of the day, we all want the betterment for Huu-ay-aht. Getting there is the challenge. Learning to allow for growth and change is never easy. Having the ability to agree to disagree and move forward, as we all will never think the same way on matters. I want for Huu-ay-aht to become united again and stronger than ever. Working together is going to bring us success. Huu-ay-aht has economic development opportunities. We have existing businesses. Building on these will enable us to reap the rewards financially and with job creation. It is also following what we stated in the treaty. The ability to top up healthcare, education, infrastructure, and those are only to name a few of the government's responsibilities. Ensuring that all Huu-ay-ahts see the benefits of why we drew down treaty is key, and I look forward to being a part of making that happen. Thank you.
Jeff?
As with last night, I'll stick to what I was commenting on last night. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to attend to hear the candidates. I think it's important that, as had mentioned, that these people are going to be doing a very important job. Over the past 4 years, there have been many trying and challenging times, and I wanted to throw in the towel, but I kept hearing what an elder said to me 4 years ago, before the 2011 election. That person said to me, "I'm going to vote for you because you're not a quitter and won't give up." One of the biggest challenges, and rightly so, is adjusting to the way our government and citizens have had to adapt to our new way of doing business under treaty. For the most part, you have accepted and understood that this is all new and they're up to the challenge. Speaking about new, as stated in many communications, we as a nation now have the ability to be in charge of our own destiny and future. One of the first public statements we made as a council is that we are open for business, and that has attracted a lot of attention. Examples, there was a wedge-shaped lot in town, a vineyard properties, properties in Banfield, a marine operation, marijuana farm, rocket launching pad. These were all ideas that were floated before us. Over the last couple of years, we have separated at arm's length from the Height a group of businesses. Market conditions, in particular the forest sector, has been very profitable, and as our Ta'i has stated, that Hauptville should benefit from the resources taken from our territory. We listened and are glad to report that we have now increased our budget from last year's budget of $18,000 to this year's budget of $227,439. Just like to acknowledge Councillor John Jack, who's played an instrumental role in this. We have implemented a living wage, which was approximately 10 and a quarter. Now everyone in our government organization makes a minimum of $17.22 an hour. Our citizens are become more and more aware of education and training opportunities that are out there, and we have seen an increase in applications since we have taken over our own education programs. When we first got into government, we were funded by NTC for a total of $100,000. I'm glad to tell you that this year we're now up to $427,000 for funding and training opportunities for our citizens. We have streamlined our controls and budgets. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're going to move into the question period, where candidates have 2 minutes to answer a question, and the audience members have a minute to ask the question. We have a microphone over on the other side, and we ask you to come up to the microphone to ask your question, because often if we have you ask a question from back there, the people online won't be able to hear it. And if you ask from up here, they can see you asking the question as well. So is there somebody who wants to start off with a question? I can break the ice with a question or two that we have received online. While we're waiting for somebody else, the first question is from Coralia Johnson. If elected, since the largest percentage of our Huu-ay-aht citizens are located in the Port Alberni area, do you feel it is important as well as feasible to continue to have an office here in Port Alberni? And we'll get Connie to lead off the questions.
Which mic am I? Does it matter?
Oh, I don't know. Does it matter which mic? Pick one.
Okay. I think that it's still important to have a satellite office in Port Alberni, because Coralie's right. There is a lot of citizens that live in Port Alberni and the surrounding area. But I also think it's important that we have a strong presence in the Anakla community and utilize the beautiful building that we have here. At one time, we had a smaller office in Port Alberni, and the majority of the workers were here. I think we need to find that balance, but the strong representation in Anakla is strongly needed.
Thank you. Jeff, we'll ask you to answer next.
Thanks, Curly, for the question. I know that 50% of our people live in the Alberni Valley. So rightly so, we should be servicing them because we are under treaty now and we have the ability to service everyone. I say that because I know we have a wonderful building down here. I recall years ago that somebody had said to me that they built the Port Alberni Friendship Center and they had a hard time utilizing the space. But it was years later that they're overflowed now. And I think one day we'll get to that stage here. We've at some of our discussions when we start hiring people, we tell them that the office is down in Anakla, and right there was a resistance to apply. Even our own citizens turned offers down to work down here. So we have to find something to attract them down here, be it proper housing or we don't know what it is, but people aren't willing right now to move down here. I know part of the issue is the gravel road, the travel. I know we tried years ago to implement that travel back and forth, and still people didn't want to travel back and forth. So we've got to figure something out. I think once the road is, we're working on trying to get the road improved. I think once if that ever happens, I think you'll see a lot more traffic down here and people willing to travel and live down here.
Thank you, Jeff. Robert?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. If you look at my platform, I lay it right out on number 11 on my platform. I call it fully utilizing our government building in Anakla. And I come from that from 2 points of view. It was in 1997 that the Huu-ay-aht people approved the construction of an administration building under their capital plan. And I remember when we were setting up the treaty office, Jeff was on the council at the time, and Kelly Dennis was the chief counselor. And he said, the treaty office is a temporary office. We're going to be moving the office home. So my belief is we fully utilize our existing building down here. We paid a lot of money for it. And I support the concept of having a satellite office so we can continue to provide services to citizens who live in Port Alberni. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. First questioner. And when you get up to the mic, please identify yourself. I'm sure everybody in the room knows who you are, but not necessarily everybody online.
Hello, everyone. My name is Charlie Clappis. My question tonight is about working relationships. So 4 years ago, we separated business from politics, which was the right decision. We've come a long way in the last 4 years on business and our government working together. At our time, what we're trying to achieve, everyone together trying to achieve, is huge, and it's essential that the two work together. What are your strategies to ensure that government and business, although we'll never see eye to eye because business is there to make profit, politicians are there to do another thing, so that the working relationship is challenging, but what are you going to do to ensure that the working relationship is healthy and that there's efficient systems in place for business to do business? Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff, we'll get you to answer first.
Thanks, Charlie. I think one of the first issues that we had to conquer is we have two offices up there and we're separated. I think we have to come up with a plan on working in closer proximity to each other. We have to decide on a plan, because right now we go through a lot of processes to get things done. You know, it sometimes takes about 6 months to get an idea on paper and then find the approval process. You know, our laws dictate that we do have to follow a process. So we do have to try to streamline that a bit.
Thanks. Robert?
Yeah, thank you, Charlie, for the question. It's a really interesting question, Charlie, because there's one particular project that is actually in total conflict with separating politics and administration. Our LNG proposal is basically being driven by the government, but yet it's a business opportunity. So how do we separate that? To me, it should have been, here's the policy of the government. This is what we're willing to pursue. This is what we're willing to explore. HTC, go get the work done. And that's exactly what I would do as your chief counselor. Here's the policies that regulate economic development. Now go make us the money so that we can provide a return to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Charlie, you have another one, or are you sitting in line there? Well, let me ask one
Should I answer?
comes from... oops.
I know I'm number 2, but
Oh, yes. You know, when you're number 3, I forget about you, right? Sorry.
thanks, Charlie. Yes, understanding that business and government are 2 separate arms, and they both have their own functions, but also the people that are working together, which is all of us, need to understand that it doesn't matter which area you work in. At the end of the day, we're still all Huu-ay-aht. And whether it's business or government, they both go hand in hand. The business is doing a job that is also eventually going to top up the government to be able to establish, you know, more healthcare benefits, more education dollars. That was the whole idea of treaty. But I think the separation of the 2, the way it happened is it created a division. And now we need to bring that back, that we are still all one. So, thank you.
Thank you, Connie. And my apologies. So here's a question that Rob tried to ask last night before we ran out of time. Can all the candidates please prioritize the following: healthcare, elders, and education in order of importance? So healthcare, elders, and education. And we'll start with Robert.
I really believe that the foundation of the Huu-ay-aht people truly starts with listening to what our elders have to say, to teach us, to give us advice, how to carry ourselves in our life. And what you find that when you do listen to the elders, sincerely listen to elders, meaningfully listen to your elders and what they're saying, you're going to be able to use that when you go out to get your education. I know my nephew said that to me the other day. If my nan had not provided me the advice as I was growing up, I don't think I would be where I am today. So in other words, that really helped in their education. So getting education is certainly a priority. And then so is the health issue too is very. And sometimes there's things that it's hard to prioritize, but you must. And so I'm going to go out on the limb here and say it has to be the elders. And I don't say that because I'm an elder, but I say that because if you look at even Canadian law, and in terms of us proving our Aboriginal title or looking at there, one of the foundations is that they have to listen to the advice given by elders. And that becomes critical in there. And even if when you go to meetings nowadays too, everybody puts a really strong importance on the elders and what role they have in helping us to move forward to live a positive and healthy life. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Connie?
To prioritize, well, from day one, when we're born, this is what we're taught. The elders are the people we hold up in the highest regard. So it's just natural that the elders come first. And then health care, because we need to be healthy. And if we're not healthy, well, then we can't educate ourselves. So elders, health care, and then education, although they're all important.
Thanks. Jeff?
Thank you. We've done surveys 2 years in a row, and we've got responses well over 250 or 60, I believe. And their number one priority was education and healthcare and elders. In those particular priorities that we have listed here, they were all different areas. But so those what we looked at is what do the people want? It's not what I want, it's what the people wanted. So that's what we went by. We looked at the surveys, we analyzed the surveys, and those were the priorities that they chose that we should be looking at. It's fine for me to say what I feel, but we had said we would follow what our surveys have indicated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Afternoon, everybody. My name is Andrew Klappis, Utlama Sti Chachastut. It's a question I kind of know the answer already. It's to get people down here, you need housing or you need some place to stay for someone to come to work, but it's a situation where the government isn't ready to delve into that. But what's the candidates thinking of creative ways, like to do social housing? It's like if you're on welfare, but if there's a way to low-income housing where people that want to come down to work, but they're temporary, seasonal type thing. What would be some creative ways to try to get some more housing down here, like 4-plex, 7-plex, some housing for people to come down here and work? What would be your creative ideas that people have here on the panel?
Thanks, Andrew. Connie, we'll start with you.
Okay, thanks, Andy, for the question. A few years back, when we were going through the treaty process, there was money set aside specifically for infrastructure. And that's what the stumbling block is right now, is the money that is there. I can't remember exactly, but I think it's like $1.2 million. But we had to put the infrastructure in first, so meaning the water and the sewer. And so we've only done part of that when we need to finish it, because we do need more housing here. We've been at a standstill for a long time. And we achieved treaty and we achieved all this land, but we haven't developed from there. And so to me, I think we need to complete that project so we can build houses, but also utilize what we do have. We have, space in the 4-plex, I think, that, can be used. Seasonal employees, we could bring in temporary units that, you see it all over the place. They do it in Tofino, they do it in Ucluelet, because they've got seasonal employees there. So yes, what we need to do to get people here. Thank you.
Thanks, Connie. Jeff?
Thanks, Andy, for the question. A few years back, there was a plan to move everybody up from the lower village up to here. And there's resistance, understandably, that, people don't like to move. They're comfortable where they are in the lower village. So that was the initial plan, and so we, looked at that, and it wasn't working. So what we're going to know, the money's still sitting there. in Ottawa. So we have to come up with a plan. How are we going to attract people to come here? It's always the question: do we build housing first and hope they come, or do we create jobs but they're not going to come if we don't have housing? So it's kind of a catch-22. So we have to come up with a plan where our site is ready to go if we come up with a plan. I know one of the first things that we're contemplating is building an elders Powitz type of childcare facility hand in hand that go together, because we know that children and grandparents interact with each other very well. So that's one of the first ones. We have to build a really proper community facility where we can have meetings and small gatherings. This is a great facility, but it's not ideal for having smaller groups, like for 20 people or something. So that's stuff like that's in the works. As far as housing, if the lots are being laid out, if people still want to move here, there are opportunities here to move here, but we have to have the ability to, or the need for people to want to move here, and that's always the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert?
Yeah, the most important thing to look at here is exactly what Connie said. There was a plan in place. Certainly the plan was to build a subdivision up here so that we could have housing. And it was conditioned on the understanding that there would have to be water and sewer. However, I want to correct Jeff that there was no stringent requirement that people living down in Anakla would have to move up to the higher ground. That would have been an optional thing. So what it means to me, and I like your question, it compels us to be more proactive. What can we do to encourage people to come home? If you look at any of the big gas companies or big mining companies, they have camps. And some of them are married quarters. People can come live there. And they're not charged. It's part of the package to encourage people to come work for them. And that's what we have to look at. We're remote here for most people. So what can we do to encourage people to come live down here? And having units down here that are built strictly for that purpose. Because we have to invest in our people. And you got to remember that Canada was built on encouraging people to come here. And they encouraged people by giving them land. They gave them land. So we have to encourage people to come home. What do we have to do? We got to provide a job and we got to provide housing. It's really simple. People will come here if the work is here. Thank you.
Thank you. Charlie, do you have another question?
I'll do my best to keep it a hard political question, but I'll keep it to the facts. It's actually a question that I'll ask now because we're on the topic, and it's about responsible capital planning. So the previous leadership inherited a capital plan that we were speaking of that was, some would say, incomplete plan. It was a dreamy plan. It looked good. There was about $20 million worth of, you could say, promises of infrastructure. There was about, say, $5 million that was actually earmarked for spending expenditures. So there was never an actual ultimate complete plan of an infrastructure, a capital plan, where there was never any money set aside for houses. So this plan that's been out there of 50 lots, great, 50 lots, what are we gonna do? Play soccer on it? There's no house, there's no yard, there's no actual living bed. So to me, it's essential, our investment in our next capital, our next move on capital. We have a sewer project that's half started. It's essential to get, basically for me, people in beds. So what is your, I guess, vision of the next 5 years on getting people in beds. Not so many lots, but actual beds and people to afford it. If we say there's a lot there for you to build, you need 20% down to build a house. How many of our citizens have $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 cash to put down to build their house? So I'm just looking for creative ways for that to actually happen. Thank you.
Jeff, we're going to start with you.
Thanks, Charlie. I know we talked about this previously, that the money that we got, it seems like a big lump sum, but it really isn't. We built the sewer line, and we have the ability to clear some lots. We could clear lots and provide services to those lots, but how long is that going to sit there? So that's the question that we have, because we have to find, like Charlie said, look for creative ways to try to attract people here. Do we want to get into social housing? Do we want to get into CMHC housing? Those are some ideas. Do we want to build apartment complexes? Do we want to build to rent to own? Do we want to take it as a government, take that risk? Do we want to what's the word? I can't find the word right now, but all I'm saying is we have to be like we said, look at some creative ways on how to build complexes, I guess. Robert said offer cheap land. That's another option we've looked at. Offer lots for $1, for $1. But if we offered a lot for $1, is it going to sit there empty? Do we have to have some guidelines? If we offer you a lot for $1, how long do we have till you build, till you have to do something with it? Or do we have people that are going to speculate and get 7 or 8 lots and hang on to them for 6 or 7 years? Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Robert?
Thank you. To me, what it says when you plan a 15 subdivision or you plan a 25 housing subdivision, your plan is to put 15 or 25 houses there. What those houses are and how it happens becomes the decision of the government. Do you want to provide housing to your citizens through social housing? If so, make the application for it. And if that's what it takes, then we make the application for additional social housing. We make some lots available for those people that are willing to buy a house and go to the bank and do it, because that's one of the things we got to remember on the treaty, that we now can lease the land and we can take that to the bank and borrow against that. So the treaty process is giving the tools to do that. And then if we want to put other kind of housing on there, whether it's small fourplexes or small units that we can use for people to either rent or rent to own while they work down here, because I think that's what it's going to take. People have to be down here for a while to see how it is, because most people that have moved away from home now, and we used to see it when we used to hold meetings here, they couldn't wait to get out of here and get home. So it's a hard transition for them to come back from urban to this life out in our homeland. And I know I'd done it for 6 months. And I'd have no problem if I wanted to buy a trailer or something and move down here. But I'd love to have a subdivision up there so I can move a trailer down here if that's what I want to do. I mean, I only need a temporary unit. I'm in here hopefully for another 15, 20 years, depending what the Lord wants. So I'm not looking for a permanent, great big house. I'm just looking for something I can come and live at home. Thank you.
Connie?
Thanks. So my vision for the next 5 years, I mean, obviously to build a subdivision with the way things are set up right now, we don't know what that's going to look like if we can access those dollars, because it's a big expense, as you know. but there is nothing stopping us from putting in lots with septic fields. Everybody's got a septic field here. So to be able to do something in the short term, well, that would make sense to me because we can afford that. I also think that, BC has, I don't know what you call it, subsidized housing. Why don't we have subsidized housing? I think that's something that, is doable. So in the short term, that's what I would see. Thanks.
Thank you, Connie.
Fell down again, eh?
Anybody else? Questions from the floor? Ben?
My name is Ben Clappus. The question, like we've been in our treaty 4 years now, 4 and a bit years. My question is if you got in as chief and your new government, in our treaty we had 5 side agreements, and they all haven't been followed through. Like our roads were supposed to be paved up to here and into the reserve. And I also asked about Pathway, which got slid over to LNG. But just a question, if you got in as chief and with your new government, how would you carry on to pursue these 5 that haven't been completed? True.
Thanks, Ben. We'll ask Robert to answer first.
Thanks, Ben. That's a good question. First, what I would do as your chief counselor is that those 5 items that are identified would get on my planning board, and I would make sure that I meet with the appropriate officials to re-engage and get those projects moving again, and then I would continue to report to the people what the status of those are. Because I think that's where we're failing right now. We're not telling the people where we're at. We're not giving reports where we are at on each of those, and so it's going to be on my planning board, and I will make sure that it gets done. And I think the important thing here that I'm talking about is how I'm going to make it happen. It's easy for people to say what they're going to do, but it's more important that people can say how they're going to do it. And so how I'm going to do it, it's going to be on my planning board. I'll appoint the appropriate people to make sure that the treaty is fully implemented. And that's the key word here, making sure that the treaty is fully implemented, including all the side agreements. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Connie?
I would look at those 5 items that haven't been fulfilled and see why. What are the obstacles, if any, why they weren't completed? And then, we would all have to work together to make it happen. And when I say together, I mean the whole government plus the administrative staff that's responsible for capital infrastructure or the business or whatever it may be. But to get the work done, we have to all work collectively to make sure it happens. And yes, communicate back to the people in where things are at and what the obstacles are, because it's never always going to be, oh, we can do this and just get it done. We are going to have obstacles to try to complete a project, but we need to share so that citizens don't think that we're not doing our job. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff?
Thank you. Thanks, Ben, for the question. I do have to be honest with you. I don't know what side agreements you're talking about, but I know our implementation committee meets on a regular basis, and they do have some discussion on the treaty. So, I'm not too sure where the status of that is right now. I could talk a little bit about the pathway to Banfield. We're doing survey work right now, and we're having a couple issues with a couple of the private landholders on the way to Bamfield. So once those are resolved, I think we could start the trail to a walking path, bike path to Bamfield. True Steelhead was funding some of it, but we also have to fund some of it. So that's still in the works. You know, if we can get past a couple of the hurdles that or the private landholders, then I think we can start the process of building the path to Bamfield.
Thank you. We have a question that came up last night that didn't get asked. Kristen Young wants to know, what kind of commitments do you think the EC, I guess that's the Executive Committee or Executive Council? EC?
What's that again?
EC, yeah,
EC?
exactly. Council.
What kind of commitments do you think the EC ought to make to ensure a successful government? And we'll start with Connie.
To make a commitment for a successful government means we have to be a team. So if elected chief counselor, that would be my number one priority is that we're all working cohesively together. We're not going to accomplish anything if we're divided. That doesn't work. So that would be my main commitment, is keeping us together, working together, and getting the business done that you have put us here to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff?
Thanks, Kristen, on Denman Island, or somewhere up there, sorry. She's taking the training course right now. Thanks. Just on that, I know, as Connie said, I think we have to work as a team. We have to, one of the things I want to institute if I get reelected is to try to convince our council to have regular office hours. I think our people want some assurance that when they come into our office that they see our government officials are there. It also to have our staff and administration have the ability to access each other, you know, without, you know, even on simple questions. Right now, that doesn't really happen. I know we've been lax on that, but you know, that was one of my priorities. Once, if I'm reelected, to make sure our government executive is accessible to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And where I would like to start that particular point, if you know the Huu-ay-aht Constitution Act, there's a section in there that says that our government consists of the Executive Council, the Legislature, the Huu-ay Council, and the People's Assembly. So certainly one of my commitments is that we have to make that work. The together is those four. If we don't have those four working together, then we're out of sync. And then we get that division because maybe one group is feeling they're not included in the government process. So that's going to be my commitment, that part of the Constitution has to work. And it's going to be, and if you look again under the laws, the chief counselor is responsible for making sure that the laws are fully complied with. So that's what I would do. All the laws there has to be full compliance. All the regulations have to be full compliance. I intend to be a leader that's not going to look for loopholes to get around and try to circumvent the law. The law will be applied, and that's how you commit to making a government work, and you make it work by all together. It's defined in our Constitution who the four elements of our government are. So that's how my commitment to make it work will be. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Charlie, you got another one?
Just so there's clarity for the voters, I'm going to be cheeky and ask for a yes or no answer. But just truly, like, this liquefied natural gas project, do you feel it's worth looking at as a nation to better the future? Yes or no?
Jeff, we'll start with you.
A simple answer, yes, as long as the social, economic, and environmental assessments align with our values.
Robert?
Yes, because the people at the People's Assembly made a decision, okay, to explore. And that's exactly what we would do. And while we're exploring it, we must remember there are going to be impacts. And how do we manage them? And I think that's where we've been weak as a nation. We haven't been explaining what the potential impacts are and how we're going to deal with them. Thank you.
Connie?
Yes, because that's the decision that's already been made. But also yes to any opportunities that are presented to Huu-ay-aht in one way or another, because I think there is nothing wrong with looking at how we can better our nation. Whether we follow through after we have had a look, well, that's another answer. But yes to any opportunity, not just LNG. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience? Ben?
Just stemming from my last question, for what Jeff said, he didn't know about the 5 side agreements. So my question is, if and when the new government gets in, how would you, like, would you work with a new government to work like in a transition period to keep the new government, you know, in step so we can carry on? For example, Charlie said he's been working at a bridge to go across the river here to connect our communities and have a safe passage up the hill here. I'd like to see that go on. And also if the past government is willing to work along with that, which we never had a chance to do. True.
Thanks, Ben. Connie? Oh, no, sorry, Robert. Robert.
Thank you, Ben. I'd like to answer that in this way. I remember a few elections ago, Derek Peters ran against me. And we had our election, but the next day we were working together. So what that means to me is that as a leader, I like to utilize the expertise in our community, even if there are opponents in the election. And I remember when Ed Johnson ran for chief councillor, and the next day I had appointed him to be responsible for forestry. So my way of in a transition is that you keep that expertise, Huu-ay-aht expertise, working with you. That becomes, to me, one of the most critical things to do. I don't think just because you ran against each other that you should shove the past government people, you dismiss them, you kind of tell them to go away. You don't even ask them to be part of you. I don't think that's a good way of doing business. So my way of is, if you're Huu-ay-aht and we need you on a committee, we need you to be giving advice, we need you to be participating in the transition, yes, you'll be there. I hope that answers your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Connie?
I think it's important that we, and I sound repetitive, but that we continue to work together as a team. And whether you were an employee, whether you were on a government previous years, whatever it may be, whether you're sitting on a committee and you're participating at another level, I think you still draw on each other because we're still all Hooayats. And we all want the same thing. We want the success for Hooayat. And the way to achieve that is to work together and not hold on to any kind of feelings, because it's not about being personal. It's about doing business and doing good business. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Jeff?
Thanks for the question, Ben. Transitional government, I know me and myself and Robert have, had debates in the past, and we've always said to each other, let's leave our issues in the room, and once we're out of the room, let's work together, or be ourselves. And we've always said that, and it's worked out very well. Transitional government, I sat down with our executive director a couple of weeks ago and told him that we should look at a transitional period for because we're going to have a new government. Some of us are going to be new. There's obviously two people that aren't running, so there's going to be new people in government. So I did say that we're under treaty. We've got a laws and regulations policy, things we're doing. Let's sit down for a couple, 3 days, whatever it takes. I know our executive director has reached out to the other two candidates here and wants to sit down with them and see where they're at. What do they envision on how the transition should go? So that's what I wanted to do. I hope it comes to fruition that we all get together and see where we're at in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. I see John wants to ask a question, and we've used up an hour. I think what we'll do is we'll have John ask his question and then ask the candidates to do their summaries, and then we'll move into the council candidates, because we've gone through 9 questions to date, which is pretty good.
Thank you. My name is John. I guess my question is a good last question to have because it's fairly open. Excluding your family members, who is your hero or someone that inspires you, and why do they inspire you?
And we'll start with Connie.
One? One?
Connie?
Hero, that's quite a word. Who is my mentor? It's Robert Dennis. I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for him. He taught me lots. I think we had a good debate last night, and I think we had a good debate here today. And I think I took him by surprise a little bit. But yes, I would have never started down this path without Robert approaching me and asking me. From when I still was at the Banfield General Store, I was never involved in any kind of politics or administration, and I've learned a lot over the years, and I have Robert to thank for that, as well as the citizens, the ones that have challenged me over the years and made me grow as a person. So, mentor. Thank you.
Thanks, Connie. Jeff?
Thank you. I guess there's a lot of heroes out there, but I want to restrict mine to Hooayt, and I think Johnny said it's not a relative. The person I often think about is Benson Nookmis. If I'm struggling with something or I want some advice, I go to him and talk to him. I know that there's some challenges sometimes, but we're open to each other's suggestions and ideas. So that's who I think about in Hooayt anyway. That's not a relative of mine. Thank you.
Robert?
Yeah, John, I want to go on this in a really humorous way. When I was young and looking for a girlfriend, I started looking in my homeland, and I was told, no, you can't go with her, you're related to her. No, you can't go with her, you're related to her. No, you can't go with her, you're related to her. So that almost excludes all of Hawaiiat. So, but for me, if I can be really biased for a reason, because I learned something from my grandfather, Telford Dennis. And he learned how to build boats without blueprints. He learned how to, become really expert at caulking boats. People would hire him. And I helped him work on a boat. We built a boat called Valpat 2. He was the oldest one of all of us. He was the first one in the boat shed, and he was the last one out of the boat shed. And I watched this man work his heart off to build a boat for his son. So my mentor was, if I got to do things and complete things, I got to work hard at it. So I appreciate my grandfather showing me that to achieve things, you have to work hard. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we've had a great round of questions from everybody, and we're going to ask everybody to give a 3-minute summation, and we'll go Jeff, Robert, Connie. So Jeff, you got 3 minutes? Okay.
Can I take your timer? Oh. Okay, thanks. Well, it's been a great audience, great questions. Just want to finish off by my presentation and what I hope to see in the future. As I led off with our education, we've increased our education from 100,000 to 4 years ago to now to 427,000. We have streamlined our controls and budgets. Just an example, instead of paying exorbitant consultation fees, we are getting more bang for our buck by hiring in-house employees. We have renegotiated many of our service contracts and agreements. So that's an example would be our insurance on all our assets. We purchased a small compact car to do our business, and we've only had it for approximately 10 months, and it's paid for itself already. So now we're just required to look after maintenance and service. And as I mentioned, the survey, and we said your opinion was heard when you said we needed more improved communications. We did that. In 2013, 2014, our communication budget was $14,128, and it ramped up for last year. It was $128,000, and for this year, it's up to $284,000. We started small with the crisis grant. We weren't too sure where it was going to go. It was $25,000 last year. It was very successful, and people are finding out about it. We increased that now to $50,000 this year, or for the coming year. The HR policy was mentioned. We're doing some changes where we're targeting employment for our Hawaiian citizens, and if they require training or more education, we're going to train them. We're going to have them job shadow. We're going to mentor them. In fact, we're doing that today. I know there was talk about some of our staff and what their performance has been. I could tell you from being in our office every day, we really have a dedicated staff that is out there to act in our best interest, not their best interest. Many times I go to our Port Alberni office, and there's people there at 8 o'clock, quarter after 8, and staying there well into 5, in some cases 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. Okay, thank you.
You know, I just want to say that I've really appreciated how this election has gone. As you notice, when we're sitting up there, we're laughing and joking with each other and nodding support to what people are saying, and that's a good sign that on some issues we're on the same page. But it comes to where on some issues we're not on the same page, and we let that one issue affect our relationship with each other just because we don't agree with, say, 5 out of 100. So what I'm going to try to do is I left my brochure back there in terms of my platform, and each one of them has a summary on what it has. The strong Huu-ay-aht economy. Under our laws, the chief counselor has a responsibility to promoting and maintaining a strong Huu-ay-aht economy. So that's one of my responsibilities. And I put a section on the People's Assembly. My main theme on People's Assembly is a commitment to open and engaging with the people, and job and training for Huu-ay-aht. And when we went into the treaty, we promoted this. We said there will be more jobs for Huu-ay-aht. Well, I think we need to do a little bit more work here, get a little bit more effort to make sure that our people are working. I don't think we should rest until all our people are working. And when we can come to the office and say we're issuing 0 social assistance checks, I think that's a really good place to be. There's the financial plan, but basically the law governs how we're to be managing our finances. Language and culture is in here as one of my priorities. And open and transparent is also one of my priorities. And natural resources. And I want to read a section that's really important to me and because it was important to the people. All rivers and streams containing salmon are culturally important to the Huu-ay-aht. These areas and their watersheds should receive special management considerations. Some areas will be identified protection by the people. That came from the people making a motion in 1997. And I don't think it's changed. And I have a section here on the liquefied natural gas. But mainly the thing is that I'm saying that we're going to honor and respect that majority of the people agreed to explore a project on Sarita land. And so that's what I'll finish with. Those are in the back. And I've given a little bit more detail to my platform. Thank you.
So my closing remarks are wanting the nation to be successful in all aspects is going to take time. Some areas will require small steps and moving at a slower pace. This will ensure that good decision-making happens. Trust, faith, and respect must be earned. Having the opportunity to be your next chief counselor will give me the chance to prove to you I can lead us in a positive direction that produces positive change. Doing the right thing is not always easy, but it is the only way. I hope I've answered all your questions tonight. I'm open if anybody would like a one-on-one. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you all.
Well, thank you to the candidates. It's been a useful session. So we're going to use the essentially the same format as we did for the chief counselors. In this case, however, we're going to restrict the council candidates to 2 minutes for their introduction and 1 minute for answers to the question. I saw somebody counting. Yes, there's 11, and there are actually 12 on the ballot, but I think the wedding of the century was on the weekend and somebody's on honeymoon, so she's not here. Irene is not here. So all the other candidates are here. So we've got everybody in speaking order here, and I think we'll just get started, and each of you have 2 minutes. Trevor, all over to you.
Great, thanks, Kit. Hello, everybody. It's great to be back down in the NACLA today, and looking forward to questions from everybody today. I hope everybody got their things in their campaign package. I think 2 minutes is a little bit too short there, so I won't go too much into my intro here. And just say I look forward to everybody's questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Trevor. Sheila?
Hello, everyone. As you all know, I am Na'a'aks. That means woman who listens, and my name is Sheila Charles. I'm running for re-election, and I'm happy to see everybody here today and happy to be home, and I look forward to engaging and hearing all of your questions. And I'm looking forward to hopefully working for each and every Huu-ay-aht for another 4 years. Thank you. Tlako.
Molly?
Good evening. My name is Molly Klappis. I am the daughter of Ben and Clara Klappis. My partner is Brian Lucas. I have 3 children, Christopher, Dorian, and Madison. I was raised here in the community of Anakla, which I call home. With grandparents guiding me and preparing me to be a young lady and representing our community, I was lucky to be raised in Anakla with my cousins, with my friends, which I believe is the grassroots of Huu-ay-aht. I role model to my children sobriety, balance, spirituality, mental, physically, and emotionally. We are a united family, and I will continue to learn, to listen, and share my experiences and uphold our traditional teachings. The guiding principles I live by is our Huu-ay-aht oath, Hishuk Sawak, we are all one, everything is one, Owathuk, taking care of our future generations. The unique thing about being here at home is hearing the little ones run through the halls. Isak, respect. My platform is 4 pillars to unity: communication, guidance from our elders and our hutwe, trust to build unity in our community while engaging our youth, honesty and accountability, to compromise, to find balance, to hear all Huu-ay-aht citizens because we're not always going to agree. My motivation and goals for council is I've been an active member of the Huu-ay-aht Finance Committee. I am also the daughter of Ben, who has been a politician for years. I've been an active citizen with meetings, the People's Assembly, and learning about the laws and the acts. I look forward to the questions. Thanks.
John?
Hello. My microphone is not on. Oh, there we go. So my name is John Jack, and I'm half Huu-ay-aht. My father's name is David McIver, and I'm the eldest son of David McIver and the late Sandy Jack, who is the youngest daughter of Ernest and the late Shirley Jack. Our family is probably one of the smallest in the tribe. However, my grandfather was one of, I believe, a dozen siblings, and that makes me related to almost everyone, not only in Huu-ay-aht, but up and down the coast. So I've had the fortune of being elected to council for 2 terms, starting in 2009 in the pre-treaty era, and then once again in the treaty era in 2011. This term of office, I held the portfolios of economic development, where I've been quite successful, and as well as law and policy development, which is not exactly a sexy subject, but is something where we actually have made quite a good few strides. I'm also had the honor of being Huu-ay-aht's representative to the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District, local governments working together, and we're one of the first First Nations to be involved in regional districts in a voting manner, alongside Tsawwassen and the Ukluthlith-at and the Ho-Chuklassit tribe. And I'm also a member for Huu-ay-aht on the governing panel overseeing the exploration of the LNG project. And it's something that is quite serious but merits investigation. And we need to make sure that we have all the information available on that. I'd love to talk even more, but I think I'm coming up on 2 minutes. And I'd just like to say I would like the honor of being reelected to help be a part of the team that will bring us into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Dwayne?
Hello, my name is Dwayne Nookmus. I truly believe the responsibility of government and government administration is to take care of Huu-ay-aht citizens. And I don't think we see enough of that now. I think we need to provide more jobs. We need to give more Huu-ay-ahts more opportunities to work for us. As I truly believe that if we want to succeed as a nation, we need to let Huu-ay-ahts take on responsibilities in some of these upper management decisions and pave the way for our future. And I look forward to answering your questions.
Jack?
Jude Lako, Uklama Hayuchiftus, Histakshit Moses Cook family. My English name, of course, is Jack Cook. I want to thank our citizens for being here to be part of this event. Thank you all to the candidates who stepped up to the plate to be wanting to be part of the next government. I also want to thank you all for those that voted for me to elect me as your member of council in the past 4 years, and I hope that'll happen again. That's why I'm sitting here. While on council, I was chair of the finance department for 2 terms, I guess you could call it. Tom Happenick took over for a while, and then I've been reassigned as chair of finance. I've also chaired the Nananexu group, also been part of the Parks Canada CMB, the infrastructure with Charlie, etc. I've always made myself accessible to any and all citizens in Port Alberni office. I think there are a number of you here that could attest to that I'm there to talk with you if you wish, and I will continue to do that. I will always be available, and I always will work hard. As I said last night, I've probably been working too hard and I haven't taken any real holidays, and my wife probably would like me to take holidays. So that's my commitment, is to continue working hard for all Huu-ay-aht citizens equally, irregardless of where you're living. True.
Hello, everybody. My name's Kenneth Roy Werner. Is this working? No. Is it? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, my parents are late Ken Werner Sr. My mother is Shirley Ann Werner, but actually Johnson. I come from the Johnson family. This is a great opportunity. I feel pretty excited, actually, to be, being able to perhaps represent everybody. I'm honest, here to listen and learn and take on all of you guys' concerns, which maybe I could bring forth to council, etc. Right? My grandparents, the teaching I got through the Johnson family is quite something throughout my years, right? So I'd like to bring honesty and everything else to the table, and everything else we know. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brittany Johnson. I'm also Hinitinius. It means she is always welcoming. My parents are Larry Johnson and Darlene Leonou. My grandparents on my father's side are, oh my goodness, stage fright. Forgot my grandparents' name. Oh, sorry, I'm nervous, guys. Thanks, guys. You know who I am. What I'd like to tell you is that my vision for working for council is to embrace all the tools that the previous councils have made, but to also build on them. Thank you.
Uklamach Kiana Huyaksmalak. I'm the daughter of Natani Mio and Clint Mio. My mother is the daughter of the late Isaac Joe. I'm really grateful to be here on my territory today. It's been a long 4 years, and really grateful to be here today. I'm just going to read this off in point form. I have a lot of pride for our people. In making decisions, I want to acknowledge the Creator in my spiritual way of living, listening to the people, making decisions based on what the citizens' inputs are and suggestions, using my voice to echo yours, also respecting the people, the land, in transparency and honesty. I want to help keep the ceremonies and stories alive and learn the language. Also acknowledge the wisdom of the elders and hereditary chiefs. And most importantly, I want to work together with the council and the chief to ensure that we're moving forward. Clico.
Hello again. I feel very strongly about being able to participate in this government, whether it's going to be as the leader or whether it's going to be as a team member of the leadership that is going to support the leader. I know there's lots of work, and I would like to be able to play a role in that and represent you. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ben Klappus, and my mom was late Annie Klappus, and my father was late Andy Klappus. I moved home back in 1981, where I lived, and got married in 87 and moved my family of 6 home. We lived here all this time, and I plan on staying here till I leave this earth. But anyways, in that time, I've been on council for 15 years, and in that, my portfolio was community human services, health, and education. And I also worked in intergovernmental affairs, where I was an alternate for our chief, then Robert Dennis. I sat with BC chiefs, I sat with all of Canada chiefs. I was involved with the elected national chief, Sean Atleo, and John and I, and Rob Jr. That was a marathon election, and he was the best national chief. But in the last while, in my 4-year break, I've been working back in the woods, working on shake and shingle. Within the last 6 months, I took on Class 1, or last year I got my Class 1 license. I drove for Woodfin logging trucks, which was an awesome experience. But there's no jobs available right at the moment, so I got back into shake and shingle. My vision is fairness for all Huu-ay-its, and it would be nice to see a lot of people move back home. Chew.
Thank you. We'll go into question and answer, and what we do is we're just going to move down the table and start. The next person gets the first answer afterwards. So, Kristen Dennis had asked last night, what kind of commitments do you think the EC ought to make to ensure a successful government? I'm going to start with Sheila. 1 minute.
Okay. First and foremost would be communication and less in-camera sessions to build the trust, to start again building trust with each and every citizen that would attend the council meetings. More interactive activities, celebrations, ceremonies, bringing us together as we have been so disconnected. I always get a really good feeling when we're all in the same room working on the same, whatever it is we're helping out with. And mostly, not mostly, but last but not least, drawing down the social services jurisdiction. In this term, I attended a lot of family and child conferences and found out what happens to those children that end up in care, and it's not good, so to bring them home and families together. Thank you.
Thank you. Molly?
In my platform, I see a successful government to be a healthy, motivated government working together for our people. How I see that happening is to build unity through the team. Should I be elected, I would be working alongside 6 other people. So we need to be healthy, communicate, respect one another, and to hold each other up through good times and bad, and to keep our people involved. True.
Thank you.
I think one of the first commitments that any group of executive council or individuals should make is a commitment to each other to work together respectfully. I think that what needs to happen is everyone needs to commit to participating actively and being honest and open in their discussions with one another. I think that we need to take the steps in order to work well with each other to help understand where we come from, who we are, and what our values are, and that when we disagree, and we likely will, that we'll understand that we're all arguing for the same thing, the betterment of our community, and that we do everything we can to ensure that our disagreements stay at the table and it's about the issues and not the people. And that's the best way to move ahead, I think, in unity. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Dwayne?
To ensure a successful government, I think we need to start investing in jobs, creating jobs like in the tourism industry, and taking advantage of jobs that already happen in our territory, like with brushing under power lines and creating just employment for people to be more healthy.
Jack?
Thank you. I will continue to do what I always have been doing, is to make every effort for myself to work with fellow council members. I used to do that prior to being elected. I used to go in and talk to Chief Councilor Robert Dennis to talk about different things and issues. So that's working with the previous council and the present council. I made every effort to follow through with that, and I will continue to do that to hopefully make the government very successful.
Continuously work together, agree, and make proper decisions for our people, to take everyone's thoughts and concerns into consideration. Just basically have to work all together correctly, make things work for our people. Every concern that everybody has should be well noted, should be discussed. We're here for a reason. We work for you to try and make things happen, right? So that's why we're here. Okay, thank you.
I think that Huu-ay-aht already has some really great values in place right now and principles in place. But as another commitment on top of that, I think that council could commit to being a team. Like John was saying earlier, we all have different projects and we will all be working on different portfolios, but we're all working together for you. So yeah, thank you.
Deanna?
I think that we need to be committed to creating and utilizing innovative ways to hold our people up, and with the intent of listening instead of responding to them, also discussing and weighing out all options before a decision is made, with many different perspectives from the table.
Working together collectively, not being divided up, not making it personal, because we're not here for personal reasons. We're here to do a job. So leaving that stuff at the door. A successful government is not just about the government. It's about working for the people, including the people, having the people be a part of what we're doing. Because without the people, there is no government. Thank you.
Ben?
Commitment. I'd commit myself to all Huu-ay-aht First Nation. With that, listen, communicate, and respect all. with the new government, look into the concerns of home, etc., all living conditions, the houses, septic fields, and as you can see, our gym floor needs to be fixed. And living in a healthy community. True.
George?
To be successful as a council, we'd have to commit to upholding our laws and our culture, to be open and transparent, and I think most importantly is to make sure that we engage with our citizens on business matters that we're attending to, and at the end that the citizens feel that they were a part of the decisions made.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience here?
This one is, I'll Hahup first give advice. When somebody comes to you and says, oh, did you hear Robert Dennis was doing something? I want to advise you, when you hear that, don't go by that hearsay as your action moving forward. So I want to ask each of you now, if you heard a rumor or you heard hearsay, how would you handle it?
Thanks, Robert. And we're starting with Molly.
Thank you, Robert. I myself would not, depending on what the hearsay is, I like to hear both sides of the story. I don't like to contribute to lateral violence. And we are all from one community. So I'd like to think if somebody was out there gossiping about me, that person knows me better. So if somebody were out there saying Robert's doing this, I would come to you and ask, open and transparent. Clicko.
If someone would come to me with rumor or hearsay, it's one of those things where gossip and that sort of thing is very dangerous, because when that kind of information gets out there and there isn't a response from the person being talked about, that can do serious harm to them, their families, and have repercussions all throughout the community. The best way to approach that is to make sure that you interact well with that person, but you try to verify what's being said, either by going directly to the person involved, but also looking for evidence as to whether or not something is happening or not. Because it's really in evidence and information, which should be the currency of any government. Make sure that that information is right before it's acted upon. And that involves getting people involved directly and seeking out the truth by looking at evidence.
Well, I don't personally listen to rumors and hearsay. I usually try to base my decision on facts and what I really know to be true.
I would do exactly the same thing you did, Robert. I'd go to the person and say, ask the question about, have you been saying this about me? And I'd rather go to the person and say, okay, what is going on here? Is this the truth or not? If it isn't, then fine. It doesn't just hurt one person, it hurts more than one all the time. So that's what I would do, is go straight to the source, if you want to call it that. True?
Yep, pretty much what Jack just said there, because no, it's rumors spread, things get completely out of hand. It not only hurts the person that is being talked about, but it hurts, it can come back and hurt the people that are the ones that are spreading it. It's something that's can get completely out of control. Something that shouldn't be done, really. Really, if people really got something that bad to say, why don't they say it to the person right? As opposed to running around stirring the pot, shall I say. That's not good practice. That's not business. That's ridiculous, right? So, anyway.
I've never really appreciated that kind of hearsay and gossip. It's never been something that moved me personally. I try to stay out of it. If it's ever been something hurtful, then I would bring it to the proper authority to make sure that it's dealt with somewhere else, because it's never been my authority to deal with that sort of thing personally. I've had it once or twice in my management positions in retail over the years, and I've always had my higher-ups help us through that sort of situation, but it's always very hurtful when things like that happen, and unfortunately they do.
Well, I have to say that I agree with everybody so far, but it also depends, in all honesty. Like, if somebody came to me and said, oh, Robert Dennis was the greatest chief we ever had, well, I'd say, well, what did he do for our people? Or if I heard the opposite, I'd ask questions again. You know, if it was negative, I said, well, why do you think that? What happened? What are the facts? What can you show me? I mean, I don't know. Gossip happens. People talk. It's just what happens in a community.
Yeah. As an elected government, I don't think it's our place to engage in hearsay. I think if there is a problem, then we need to see it. But even still, that's not our job. That's not our job to deal with gossip, rumors, because it never ends well for anybody. In my personal life, I'll address it straight up, but not as an elected government. That's not our business.
I'd have to say what Connie just said. But as an elected council, I've had to deal with issues and deal with families, and if needed, and you know, like it was like come down to the safety of members, I'd deal with like the proper authorities if it got that bad. And if it was just like idle gossip, I'd just leave it alone. Chew.
Pretty much the same answer as everybody here. If there is hearsay or gossip that you hear, it's more about approaching the person and asking about that on a personal, and I think professionally as an elected council, it's something that I'd play part in gossip, but if it was a serious matter, would definitely look into that matter.
Thank you for the question, Robert. Gossip is a problem. I have been on the receiving end of it, really, really hurtful things. I've heard things that I'm having an affair with the chief. I've heard things that I got knocked up when I was a teenager and my mother sent me away and I gave my baby up for adoption and I went and met her in the Okanagan a couple years ago. Really hurtful things. The best way to stop gossip is to not participate. And with the one about my illegitimate daughter, apparently, it was hurtful to hear it. The way that I heard it was the person that passed it on to me didn't obviously say, oh, I don't agree with that, or I've never heard that, or I don't want to talk about this. They just went, oh, really? And then they said, oh, I guess you should know what's being said. So the best way is to just stop it in its tracks and just say, do you know that for a fact? It's gossip, and I'm not participating.
Question?
Hi, my name is Sarah Johnson. As elected councillors, how would you commit yourselves to being involved in making a presence in our community and or on TSL?
And we're starting with John.
So I think one of the first things that council members should do, if they're involved at the committee level, ensure that committees have meetings at our building and in the community, depending on the type of meeting it would be. I think council members should make themselves available on request, but also on a regular basis in something like office hours, but not as formalized as that, unless people want to make appointments. And I think that it's kind of important for members of council to have an understanding of the land, and I'm glad that you talked about not just the village, but also the whole treaty land, because, you know, we do have Huu-ay-aht who live out in Sarita, and we do have history on a bunch of islands and all the way up the valley. So I think it's all important that we have an understanding of the land as well as the community. Thanks.
Well, my presence on our community is I live here, I guess. And I think if you're elected council, you need to be open to visiting people and taking opinions and, you know, seeing what's going on. And as for our TSL hunting season, I'll be out there somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll admit I've been lax in that department, and I will certainly make efforts to improve on it, and try to make sure that I get done more than I have in the past. True.
Not only just seeing people in meetings or funerals, best to pop around and visit when you can, or be open and be able to, when you run into people in town and stuff. Well, I know when I run into people in town, I always try and stop and talk, right? You know, and people now that we've just moved and a new place, when I do run into people, I always go, oh, hey, wait, have you got our new number, right? So, and then to come down here, I love coming down here. I love fishing and what have you, right? So, no, just more and more, not just in meetings, but to be able to be out there and be available if someone wants to talk. You want to come over, Clifford? We'll have lunch, right? You know? Stuff, anything, right? So, oh, you're asleep, eh? Wake up now. Hey, he was sleeping. Hey, this is boring. Richard, you too. I thought Scratch was living in town. That's what I heard. There's our rumor.
Brittany?
I guess I'd have to ask, how would you want me to be more present in the community? You know, because I can say that I'll do this for you, but what would work for you? What would work for the people in Annapolis probably wouldn't work for the people in Port Alberni. And I'm open to suggestions on that. Thank you.
Well, I think that one of the reasons that I did this is because I'm so active in a lot of other communities except where I'm from and my home. So I'm from Vancouver. I don't live around here. It took a lot for my family to get me over here, and I'm strongly committed to being more present here, and that's why I wanted to do this, is I wanted to get to know our people, our culture, and our traditions.
I think it's important that the elected government shows that they're everywhere. I think more business needs to happen at our office and in our community. We need to show to everyone that we're here and that we're accessible, and not be afraid to talk to people. And that's where, you know, there might be that personality clash or the personal issues that people might have that we can't bring to the table. And reaching out to people, the people that have put us in these positions, we need to show that we're here and that we're working for you. Thank you. Oh, first time.
Yeah.
Good timing.
As I said, I moved back home in '81, so I think I'd move away, and then at the end of the month, I'd move back here. I'm always here. I'm not going to go anywhere. True.
Could you repeat that question once more? Oh, okay. I think over the last couple of years, I've definitely shown my commitment. In the past, I've worked for the government as well as the businesses, and the last couple of years, I was managing the campsite and made the effort to provide my own accommodation so that I can stay and work down here. I think other commitment is, as a counselor, is being involved with citizens that are here in Inukla, but also with the citizens that are in our other areas. So in Port Alberni, Nanaimo, Vancouver, Victoria, and I even have some cousins that are living down in Texas and San Diego. So I'd make it a point to go down there too for travel. And now for TSL, I think that's a learning that would be, knowing where the cultural sensitive areas are and keeping those in mind. Thank you.
How can I be have more of a presence in the community? And the TSL is to come here, come home. I preferably like a home that I can stay down here. That's been a problem, especially because there's no housing. When I was allowed to go to the office, I wouldn't hide in the back office that's at the other end of the hallway. I liked to sit in the foyer, and that way I found that I got to see everybody that came in and chat about whatever you wanted to chat about. And I'm always open to, I answer my phone as much as I can if I hear it and it's on, and I'm welcome to meet you anywhere, or you can come to my home. I'm always open. I've never ever that I can say anybody that's wanted to talk about anything, I'm open. The dog's still there.
Thank you, Sarah, for the question. If I was an elected government, how I see myself coming home more often is to meet with our elders, meet with our youth, meet with our Hotway, to see what the needs are currently at home. I moved away in 1996 for my son to have education in sports in the Valley, and I know we need more opportunities for all of our people. I'm also thinking not only to come home once a month for a chief and council meeting, but to have more of our committee meetings at home. And late Spencer used to say Hotway meetings should be at home to feed them, to build that unity here in Inukla. And for TSL, that, I'm going to be honest, I need to learn more about. Like, I know Dodgers Cove and Grappler and Sarita. That too would be a priority, to see what our people at home want. I'll call you.
One of the questions that we asked the chief candidates was from Coralia Johnson. If elected, since the largest percentage, 40% of our Huu-ay-aht citizens are located in the Port Alberni area, do you feel it is important as well as feasible to continue to have an office in Port Alberni? And we get Dwayne to start off.
I think it's feasible, and I think it's probably also necessary for members that aren't on reserve to be able to access resources and take advantage of things and get information. So I think it's something that we actually need.
I believe also that it is important to have our presence in Port Alberni, not only for the citizens that live in Port Alberni, but others that live on the other side of the hump also. we do have citizens that live here in Anakla that come to the office in Port Alberni also. So I believe it's something that should continue. Chu?
We need the office in Port Alberni in order so that the band can conduct business. We are involved. We are a business. There's many involvements that the band has in with other companies. Well, without the office in Banfield, or I mean in Port Alberni, we would fail to. We would lose out on a lot of business that we do conduct. From what I gathered, that's a lot of our business comes from there, and without it, we, as well as dealing with our own people and et cetera, but by having an office in town, it gives opportunity to the people that want to do business with us to be able to do business. Thank you.
I do agree with everyone that our office in Port Alberni is very important. We do have the majority of our people there, but I do think that we can also utilize the office here in Anakla a little bit more than we do now. Thank you.
Well, with 40% of the people living in Port Alberni, then it's completely necessary to keep it going. And actually, they helped me today. I don't know much of my family, and they were really helpful with giving me directions and some numbers and some insight on how I can connect with them. So.
I agree also. I think that Port Alberni needs to have a satellite office, but I also think that Anakla should be our main office. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. I think it'd be good to have like one office in Port or the satellite office like Connie says. But another thing I think of is like jobs at home, like having our people work down here, having the people from here work here. Before we used to have a policy, if you worked for the First Nation, you had your own transportation and your own accommodations. It was up to you to find it. So, but I think one office in town would be sufficient because we do work in forestry and we've dealt with it down here, or they come down here too. So, true.
Yeah, I believe it's important to have an office in Port Alberni, like previously said, a satellite office. But I believe the majority of our business, Huu-ay-aht business, should be done here in Anakla. I think for Huu-ay-aht, when we do business with other people, other organizations like Steelhead, other large organizations within forestry, when they want to do business with us, I believe they should, at that starting point, come down to us to do business with us here on our lands. So.
I agree that Anakla should be the main office, as when you get to work in this beautiful building and look out over our territory, it just sets home why we're here, why we're doing what we're doing, and instills more pride in what we're doing. But definitely because of the 50% of the citizens that live in Port Alberni to have a satellite office. I don't necessarily believe that it has to be $1 million office with a shower, but we could have maybe gone back to Argyle Street maybe to have at least a few employees that are there to help the citizens there.
Well, we have bought an office in Port Alberni, and having a satellite office in the valley has been beneficial for power outages, and we are growing. But I've always been saying that our people should be working at home. We have a beautiful building here, And even through those barriers in the past, we were able to, if internet's down, we have fax machines. There's other resources, there's other ways to communicate. So I can agree to having a satellite office, but I want to see more people at home.
So I agree with the demographic argument. I think that makes the most sense, that we do need to have a presence in Port Alberni. That being said, I do know that there are things that we can do to better utilize the facilities we have here. I'm going to talk about how I think Port Alberni, in and of itself, kind of fits into how we should be relating to the rest of the world. So I see Port Alberni being our gateway to the rest of Canada, the rest of the world, in terms of the business that we do and the people and groups we relate to. And the same way, Port Alberni serves as the gateway for a lot of our people back into the Huu-ay-aht First Nation. Now, I grew up outside of Port Alberni. I'm one of the 40% of people who don't live in the Alberni Valley or on our treaty lands. And in order to involve them, they have to have a stepping stone back into our society, back into our community. And I can see the ways that we can do that by utilizing the Port Alberni office and the facilities offered there as an introduction.
That's it. Sure. Robert? Oh, no, yeah, we got everybody, yeah. I don't want to miss anybody.
I just wanted to say something that hopefully will help the candidates here. That I had about 3.5 years as band manager, 6 terms as the elected councillor, and then 16 years as chief councillor. And I can tell you, without a doubt, you are going to hear rumors. You are going to hear gossip. And sometimes you get tempted to deal with it in the wrong way. And that was the reason I asked the question. So I want to thank you all for answering the way you did. Thank you.
Sarah?
Sarah Johnson. How would you describe and or see a strong, diverse economy here in our homeland?
Strong, diverse economy. And we'll start with Jack.
Strong, diverse economy.
In our
I
community.
believe that we're working on trying to accomplish that, and part of that is through the process right now we're having with the LNG proposed project, is we're doing all the studies and so forth to ensure that what I call all the check boxes are checked off. If they're not, why not? And if it does get them all checked off, that could be one of the strong economic benefit for Huu-ay-aht. We are also looking at other possible projects, and the same thing. They'll have to meet the check boxes, and if they do, then that could be great economic benefits to Huu-ay-aht.
True. Well, we have our tourism. We've been acting on that for quite some time to help us along, as well as our logging. Fishing, being able to sell our fish, act like the Tishots and have people down here, cash buyers, make it easier for people to throw a net in a river or go wherever there to, so we can make some quick money here. We need money, right? So can't rely on, we can't rely on the logging. That's why we're not able to sell our fish. And tourism isn't going to cut it. Well, it helps, but I mean, of course it helps. Everything helps. But being able to sell fish, the LNG project, hopefully, maybe, that's going to help us in ways. That's why we voted for it. To be able to fish, though, is a good one, and to be able to sell, like the knit nets, etc., right? So I think that would help.
That's a really tough question. I can't say that I have a lot of information myself about what a strong, diverse economy would look like, and I look forward to learning more about that. However, I feel that having that we're open for business and that we're looking at a lot of different options is very positive. Thank you.
Well, we live in Canada. We live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, let alone our territory. It's amazing, and it's nothing like Vancouver. It's nothing like anywhere else. And I think that with the right people and the right questions being asked, I think that tourism could be a really strong project for us, depending on who we talk to and what we do. That's what I see our future in a sustainable way and in a healthy way and in a way that gets our people working and protecting our land for the future.
By supporting HDC, we developed that separation to have a body that is going to explore the different economic opportunities that are out there for us. And working together with HDC, going down that road, and not, even though the business and the government is separate, we still are all working towards the same thing. So we really need to support HDC in the role that was intended for them. Thank you.
Strong, diverse economy. I look at fishing and forestry. Over the years, it's slowed down quite a bit, where we had to sell boats. Our fishermen had to sell their boats. Forestry, we are involved in it. You can see as you drive down here, they're into second growth trees already. That's not going to last forever. And then we got the LNG, we got the Yes vote. It is for environmental assessment right now. And I did vote yes in that assessment, and I think as a nation we'll have to really think about this, we're running out of options. What can we do? Tourism's mentioned. We do have our campsite. It does make some money and gives some jobs. But options I also hear container yard. True.
How many minutes again?
1.
1 minute. Oh, that's horrible. I love that question. So I'm just going to put it in small point form. I think the top 3 that I have in order would be forestry, tourism, and fisheries. And in supporting those, I think the most important thing now that we're under treaty is how the government and the corporation works together. I think the most important thing that we have to do now in the next 4 years, if I'm elected, is how we build on those processes, how we make it successful. I think more importantly is how we support Huu-ay-aht people that want to start business, because if they tried to start business right now, it'd be very difficult for them. So I think in the 4 years would be how do we make that successful and build a plan around that.
First of all, to address the strong part, to work together as a team and to come together united. I know that at our People's Assembly, when I got up and danced for our Tyee Hutwith, that was the most amazing feeling, and that was one of the thing that made me say that I wanted to run for council again, because I felt that connection and being united with our nation. We need to celebrate more ceremonies and celebrations to strengthen and come together, and more healing, and to be more self-sufficient, meaning more Huu-ay-ahts in those positions, what this treaty was fought for each of us. I truly believe I've traveled all over every corner of this earth, and everywhere I've gone, they make money on tourism, and we live in one of the most beautiful, amazing places in the world that people all over the world come in, and I think that I could go on and on.
Thank you for the question, Sarah. What came to mind as a strong, diverse, to involve all people. So if we have young youth that have goals and dreams, for the government to support that, as well as administration. To have a strong community, it starts with self, and then you build those branches out in your own home. And when you build that out from your own home, it becomes contagious to your neighbors. And everybody's dreams are different. And yes, we do live in a beautiful territory where tourism could be booming. To allow people to travel down to Anakla, not for the campground, like when I was in hairdressing, people would say they're heading to Anakla, to Pachina Bay. So we need to be a strong community to represent. And when I travel down in my previous jobs.
Okay, I'm going to go fast because I have a lot to say about this. So I'd like to thank Connie for mentioning the HDC and that we need to work with it. The original intention of setting up our corporation is for governance, financial reasons, and for legal protection. I think she's right in that the separation has gone too far. We built an 8-foot fence when it should have been a 4-foot fence. We should be able to lean over and talk to our colleagues on the other side. I think the most important thing that we need to do, I don't have enough time, is to interface with the global economy. We need to ensure, thank you, we need to ensure that we not only rely on natural resource extraction, but we diversify our primary industries into things that we can also rely on. That's why we're looking into energy. That's why we're looking into trade and transportation. That's why we want to look into tourism as well. We also need to focus on entrepreneurship to make sure that our people can start their own businesses, because it doesn't cut it if the government and the government-owned business are the primary forces of employment. We need to help our own people employ themselves.
Sound like an auctioneer. What was that first part again?
I'm going to talk really slow now. I think we're kind of limited to tourism and logging. I think we need to invest more to take advantage of like the West Coast Trail, upgrade our beach, and there's a lot of other areas. I think we log. I think maybe, we could build a mill and maybe we double our jobs and something like that. Invest in training people and equipment. Maybe we can get these hydro contracts and expand into other things where you can extend seasonal employment to year-round employment where people are going from one job to another.
Thank you.
They get a minute to answer the question?
And you got a minute to ask the question.
But they get 2 minutes.
They get 1 minute to answer.
They got 20 seconds now.
Okay, my question is...
Well, wait, you got to tell us who you are.
My name is Brian Lucas.
Thanks.
My question is, when you get elected as new council, how are you guys as a team going to educate our youth on our culture and traditions rather than alcohol and drugs? And what are your personal thoughts of traditions and culture and what it means to you as individuals?
Whoa.
1 minute?
Boy, talk fast.
Yes, well, maybe he should.
Okay.
No, I'm happy
Still
to extend
digesting
the
the
time.
question.
Hold on, Roy. I'm happy to give everybody 2 minutes if that's what you would like. I mean, I'm not here to, these are the rules that we had agreed to. But if you'd like 2 minutes to answer this question, I'll give you 2 minutes.
Since it's a two-part question, perhaps we could answer the first question first and then go around and do the second part?
I think you just take, I'll give
I've
you
already
2
forgotten the first
minutes
part.
and you answer both parts. How's that?
Okay, as for culture, it's super important to us, to me anyway, from where I come from, etc. Right? It is very important. How to educate the people in other ways. We have people working for us that lead and help the younger generation try to get educated, put them in the right situation, the right boat, so they can get educated and move on to something else aside from not having anything to do, being bored, and perhaps turning to drugs and alcohol. We really, it depends on all of us as to what goes on with the younger people in regards to getting involved in stuff like that. I mean, having people at work and you know, have the training and the guidance from ourselves as well. I mean, they're our children. We're supposed to be able to push them in the right direction, whether they like it or not, right? So we have people that will guide them, teach them, schooling. People that work for us will help them, and I think the question was fairly well. I think have I got it? Pretty much what to do with the people and how to, you know, got to guide them in the right direction and get them educated so they don't turn to drugs and alcohol, etc., right? So, and what about the culture? Well, that's something that should be taught to them, inbred in them as they're young, so that they can carry on and teach their own children, right? So I think I've done it. Thank you.
Big question. I think I got it. I got the gist of it, at least. Personally, for me, I was raised off reserve, so I didn't get to see a lot of the same kind of cultural teachings that a lot of other people got to. And I find that people use this word in the wrong way, but I find it awesome. It inspires awe in me when I see our singers singing and when I see our dancers dancing. And I would definitely love, personally, as a youth, to be more involved in that again. It's been years since I've danced, it feels like, and years even more since I went to a dance practice. I hope that even just me being at this table inspires a few others to try to follow and serving for our government. I talked a little bit about it last night, about getting our youth to come home. I don't remember who asked the question, I'm sorry. But I was saying that we need to make our government more exciting. I think that would definitely keep them occupied with other things. And not just when a big project comes on, like LNG, or like when the treaty was signed, but every day making it more, you know, welcome, not just open for business for all the other people out there, but open for business for our community to feel comfortable to come in whenever. And not just, you know, our elders and the people who are working, but the young ones as well. I think I got it.
I'm really glad you asked that question. One of the only reasons why I'm sober today is because I'm really involved in culture. My significant other is from Alert Bay, and he's with the Kwakwakiwak dance group and singing group, and I've been blessed to be able to learn everything that I know from them, and cultures are very similar. I noticed when I went to a dance practice on my 19th birthday, actually, at the Mother Center in Vancouver. And how I would do that is by doing what I'm doing today, is by being a leader and trying to learn the language with the resources that I have. It's very hard when I don't live here, but I'm doing the best that I can, and I feel that our youth are very unrepresented with the council, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today, is to show them a different route to go other than drinking and drugging.
So, as an elected government, how am I going to educate our youth on culture? We have a cultural department. I think that we need to invest more into our cultural department so that they can reach more people, not just central, but where all of our citizens live, because our culture is everywhere. It's who we are as a people. To me, it's not just, it's all of the above. It's language, it's dancing, it's our teachings, it's what we've been raised from the beginning, what our ancestors have taught all of us, what the people that were here hundreds of years ago did, and we're still carrying on. because that's who we are. Thank you.
Can I get Irene Williams' 2 minutes? Education, education is very important. It comes right from when our kids go to Powitz, and that's been a benefit for our kids that have been going through there. I've heard High, talk about it, working with the kids in our school. I was an education worker at our school for a year and a half, but I'd like to see that focused on and work at it a lot better, like having more people in that area. Culture, and I see language that follows into it. Connie mentioned that. Naatich Chani Uklama Klaapasum. Listen up a while. My name is Ben Klappis. I've taken 3 years in language, and with my 4 years off, I was able to do that, to take this language. I think it's very important. And I like the outcome of it, of how many people have joined in the last 5 years. It's really good to see. When it was really hard to get one language teacher down here, now it's snowballed at North Island College. Drugs and alcohol. I really wish we could solve this and have a healthy community down here, and so on. Chu?
I think I'll speak to the last 2 years I was down here in the Bay. My daughter Samantha is 3.5, and my son Levi is just over 2. And while they were down here, they had a chance to go to Powitz and spend time with Grandma Clara. And through that, they learned amazing amounts of words in our culture. And she was coming back, talking our language very quickly. And it made me realize our little ones are like sponges. It's really hard for me to learn my language, but I know for kids, when they hear it, they absorb it, and they'll learn much quicker than I do. and I think building on that and bringing that, it's in Port Alberni now, but bringing that in a way that we can access all our Huu-ay-aht youth, that it would build on that. And from building on that, you'd see a decrease in alcohol.
How will I help to get more children engaged, our youth, in our culture and teachings, and not into alcohol and drugs? First of all, by leading by example, and we each, as a leader, which we're all leaders in this room, we each have our own responsibilities to teach our own children that as well. I can speak from experience with my nephew who's lost his mother to alcoholism. We do not do any drugs or alcohol in front of him. We don't hide it from him. We educate him on what happens when it becomes a problem. Also, I love taking him to our ceremonies and potlatches, and he loves tapping his little feet to the drums and listening to the language. My mom is constantly over and over, Bapi, Nitsa, Chichi, everything. And again, I reiterate what Connie said, to utilize more the cultural department and the Powitz, and just encouraging each other and parents and aunties and grandparents, and to come together in those celebrations and being united together. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Brian. How I see myself involving our Huu-ay-aht youth with culture, values, and educating them on drugs and alcohol. I am an intergenerational survivor. Therefore, I have taken the path to live a healthy, sober life. So therefore, I'm currently role modeling to our children that it's very easy to become addicted to drugs or alcohol through the hard times that our parents endured through the residential school. I would like and hope and encourage our youth to be involved by including our elders and grandparents of Huu-ay-aht, because that's where Hahupa starts. I would also include our Tyee and the Hotway table, because that's where the Hotway table have worked with our grandparents. That's where the teachings are. Benson Nookmis recently told me that there is 10 Huu-ay-aht people that speak our language. So to completely utilize those resources that we have here in Huu-ay-aht. I currently role model to our daughter being sober in culture. I could stand up and dance when I heard this question. We role model this by having our daughter at Hahopiak School, and when she was, before that, she was at Totneus. Now I have continuously asked our government to open our Port Alberni Powits as a daycare, so our parents in Port Alberni don't struggle with daycare. There, we could utilize our elders in Port Alberni to teach. Am I really done?
Yeah.
Community potlucks and song and dance.
That's a great question. I think one thing that I'd like to state outright is that our language, our culture, our history, all of these things aren't necessarily well known across the whole community. And normally our history, our culture, our values are imparted by our parents and grandparents, but that was disrupted in a wholesale way by colonialism, by residential schools, to a point where a lot of our children, a lot of our young people don't have a lot of understanding of what it means to be Huu-ay-aht. I can't claim to know exactly what it means to be Huu-ay-aht, but what I do know is that that knowledge is out there, and that we need to not only let parents and grandparents do it, but we need to be actively involved in not only preserving our language and culture, but promoting it actively as a government. And Connie is right, we do have a culture department that helps do that, but we also have two other bodies that are vitally important in that, and they need to be resourced adequately. The first is the Nananiksu, obviously. Our grandparents are the elders who have that knowledge. But the Hatwiya need to be resourced appropriately as well, because they're the ones who demonstrate culture in action. They're the ones who can recognize the people who are paragons of our culture and give, our young people something to aspire to. Hey, Brian was recognized by the Hatwiya for his ability to live a good life and live a cultural life. I want my, soon-to-be child to look up to someone like Brian if and when he is, recognized as being that. And it's those incentives. People need to buy into the community and feel that they're gaining knowledge and that that's being acknowledged by our cultural leaders and our elders actively. And I think that's how we get our people involved. Let them choose our life rather than other ones.
I think Trevor is right that, we're teaching it to our youth through powits and, through education, and they have courses in school. But I'd like to see some of our stories written down. I like to read, so, if we could pass it on that way, it would be great. Cultural events, more gatherings rather than just people's assemblies. Maybe we get together for other reasons. And as for the other one, I think we lead by example and by the teachings. I lived with my grandparents. They told me and gave me examples, like Uncle Clifford, Uncle Ben. That's how you want to be when you grow up. And I made that decision 20 years ago for my kids that I was not going to bring them up in that, and I couldn't be more proud of them now. So I think we lead by example.
I only heard the bell twice. Can I use the rest of everybody's time? So that means I got about 7.5 minutes. Thanks, Kit. Okay, I guess the second part to your question, I think you yourself know that I'm always involved in our songs and dances, part of the culture, and I always have been. And if you ask Mr. Dennis there, I correct him on a few occasions. I'll just say a few. So I do help a couple. Sorry, I do. I do try to help with. When we're doing songs and dances to make sure that we're going in a right direction. I'm listening to one of the questions that was asked the candidates for council about mentorship heroes. I have 3 of them: Mary Moses, Fanny, and Alec, and they, I took guidance from them, and one of the things that they always said about our children is to have them involved, as well as the parents to be involved. Not just to say, okay, you kids go there and learn about our songs and dances, but the parents need to be there too with them, to be part of that, so that the kids will know that the parents are encouraged by it themselves and want to be part of it. There's more to culture than songs and dances. There's a language, which I know some, not much, I admit that. I used to know it. And my good buddy to my left here said, don't forget to mention carving. That's also cultural. So we need to see if we can get that online too. True, tako.
3 seconds. Phyllis.
Phyllis Williams. You guys keep talking about jobs. How will you ensure more Hyatts get jobs being promised when you guys are actually involved in the hiring process?
Well, in order to have people obtain more jobs, we need a lot more training.
Took over.
Oh.
Yeah,
oh,
I
it
think
was still for you? Oh, her first.
If you want to keep going,
Oh,
it's
no,
all
no.
yours. I'll finish your thought. It's fine.
You're losing control, kid.
Get jobs.
No, you just ended.
When you're what?
Brittany.
Well, as an elected official, I don't have control over who gets hired. I don't. I'd like to see more people try for jobs, though. I'd like to encourage people to apply for jobs that they see out there, even if they think that they're not qualified, because working with Huu-ay-aht, you will always be learning. It's what you do. You can always get more training, and if you're not trying, how do you know that you can't get those jobs? I guess what I would be doing would be encouraging more people to apply for the jobs.
That's a really good point that you made. And honestly, just like Brittany said, there's not a lot that I could do other than encourage you and just check up on you and say, hey, how are you doing? Are you working? Have you been getting training? Is there anything that you need help with in order for you to succeed? Because that's what it's about. In order for you to get a job, you need the training, and to figure out what training you're going to get, you got to know what you want to do and which direction you want to go.
Sorry, you do have more time. I forgot the 3 seconds.
I forget what I was saying.
Sorry, it's, yeah.
You're right. As elected officials, we don't have anything to do with the hiring process except for the executive director's position. But as this is a common question that has come up through a lot of different people I've spoke to during this campaign process, the only place that we have any control over that is to look at the human resource policy and to see if it's working for us. And if it isn't working, to identify what those areas are and improve them and change them and have the executive director implement those changes. Thank you.
I think one of the things you could do is, like everybody else says, the council doesn't have anything to do with the hiring. But maybe one thing you could do is inform the, what would you call it, the hiring committee, to look at our laws or our constitution. And I think Robert had mentioned and what it says about the way it's working for us. And go from there. True?
Thanks for the question there, Phyllis. I guess as council, it's something that we're not directly involved in, but it's something that we can definitely promote. It's something definitely that I do personally with my own family, with my cousins, family members, you know, checking in what they're doing for the season, where they're working at, if they're back at the fish plant or not. But I think as on council, we can definitely look at how we can engage with the citizens on a consistent basis, and how we can get a gauge on where our Huu-ay-aht citizens are at, and how we can help them in their current position, or if they want to work with the Huu-ay-aht government or the Huu-ay-aht businesses, being able to engage with them to provide them the details they need to be able to work with the government or the businesses.
Definitely on council, you have no control over who is hired. Last People's Assembly, I tried to bring a motion I had this in mind, that what Parks Canada does, they have a small percentage that they are supposed to, they have to hire majority or a minority, the minority, and which is in this area, First Nations. And so that's how I got my job with Parks Canada. I wanted to do the same with Huu-ay-aht, that the large percentage has to be Huu-ay-aht employees, and that small percentage, it's the reverse of Parks Canada, the small percentage would be non-Huu-ay-aht employees. Another would be again, the hiring policy to just work on it so that it benefits more Huu-ay-aht. And also in the job descriptions, to not discourage in the Parks Canada job descriptions.
Thank you for the question, Phyllis. As a new elected official, I would be working with the government on what's working and what's not. Robert had mentioned earlier he read a clause out of the Constitution. So to me as a citizen today, that reads accountability, holding the executive director and the hiring committee accountable as to why our Huu-ay-aht people are not being hired. And if they're a few points off, then how do our administration staff educate that person or have on-the-job training? Which my understanding right now, there is an HR policy out there that you're welcome to review and comment on to the current government. Because my belief is we should be 100% Huu-ay-aht employed.
I think one of the most important things to really focus on, especially since the Constitution has been mentioned so often, is that it's about employment opportunities and the equality of the opportunity to get a job. And so what we really need to focus on as a government, because the equality of opportunity is the best form of fairness out there, we need to focus on making sure that our people are best equipped to get the jobs available. We are looking at policy reform to ensure that our people do have an actual institutional advantage in addition to the preference that is already expressed in policy. But I think we're talking too much about just the government, and I don't think a strong economy is based solely on what we do within government alone. I think we need to create more job opportunities within our businesses, which means investing in expanding what our businesses are and what we do with them. And I think we also need to create ways, and I don't want to steal thunder from Dwayne because it was his idea, to create ways for our people to access value from our lands. But that's all I'll say because he'll probably talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. to me, it's crazy that, that we don't already have these policies in place where the thing should go to the Huu-ay-aht. So I think we change the policies, and like Jack said, we increase education, we increase all the opportunities for people to be able to succeed and be able to apply for these jobs.
I guess it's an advantage, disadvantage to be near the last one to respond to the questions, but the simple reason, like quite a few said that, and are correct that as elected officials, we can't be involved with the hiring except for the executive director. But what I usually do is encourage the individual to look at the job description. There's a thing that the federal government has that it's a classification of the different job descriptions that gives you an idea what you would need for education and training and some of the duties that would be involved in it. So I usually try to encourage, if anyone is interested, to look those up to get that information. And if you need some training in that, then we have programs where we can help individuals to get some training in those particular fields. And I can't talk anymore, it says.
Roy, you finally get a chance to get a kick at the cat. You were so keen to start.
Kickstart again. Yeah, geez. Okay. Try and find out what's available for our people anyway, for work-wise. And all you can do is lead them in the right direction as to whatever they might be interested in, training, opportunities for their training. Be good, like if we got a lot of young guys that want to learn how to run excavator machines or something, we should maybe get that guy down here, that instructor or something, and get people on that and get people doing other things, right? There are lots of different things. I don't know how much through the winter you got salal picking. There's all kinds of different ferns that florists buy. I don't know. Just we live where there's lots. We just got to try and figure out what it is that is needed that we can sell and make some money for our people, right? But jobs, people, everybody needs training, right? That's how the world's working nowadays.
Is that what you were going to say? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Nowadays.
I'm Martha Johnson. I asked this question last night to the chief councillor candidates. The first part of it is a statement, followed by a question. Our strengths help us get where we're going. But if you don't fully understand and account for our own weaknesses, we won't be able to sustain success over the long term. So my question to all the candidates is, what weakness do you bring to the table that you would like to improve upon?
Kiana, we'll start with you.
One of my biggest weaknesses is that I have too many ideas and I don't know how to just pick one and go with it and focus all of my energy on one specific thing. I get all these crazy great ideas and then I'm just like going off with all these different things, and then next thing you know I'm still thinking about them and I haven't done anything. That's one of my biggest problems, is losing sight of what I want to focus on.
One of my biggest weaknesses, and it's also my strength, is my passion for being a Huu-ay-aht and doing the job to the best of my ability. I also try to do too much at once, and I need to slow down and turn to the people that can support me to be able to do the best job that I'm hopefully elected to do. So learning to slow down and draw on all of the resources that are around me and the knowledge that is out there that I can gain from and do a better job. Thanks.
I think I'd have to go with like what Connie said. My weakness and my strength is I care for Huu-ay-aht people. And like a lot of people here, or some people, like I didn't move home till 81, and I wasn't into culture or language. But over the years, it started clicking in, caring about our people, and then when I got into politics, somebody had mentioned you should run for council, being the noisy guy that I am or whatever. And so I got into it, and I do enjoy working for Huu-ay-aht. It's true.
Weakness with being on council is I've never ran for council before or have been on council before, but I believe the skills that I've gained in my past will transfer to being a councillor. Thank you.
I have to agree with Ben and Connie that I tend to take on too much, and too much of the stresses and worries that leads to fear, and I feel like it's all, I gotta fix all this, and so that's one thing that I strive, is to have more faith in all of us, that we're all have the same goal, and all love Huu-ay-aht and want to be the best that we possibly can. That would be one.
Thank you for the quote and the question, Martha. What weakness do I bring to the table in my current employment, in my past employment, and potentially to the government table would be, if anybody's aware of True Colors, I'm gold. I'm a doer. I like to have things in place, A, B, C, D, and sometimes that doesn't always work. So how I've been improving on that is to listen, to hear, that it's not always my idea that's going to work. By listening to my fellow team members, is to come up a plan that works for all of Huu-ay-aht. So on that, my A, B, C, D is, I just want to get it done quickly. So to know through some of the sayings and quotes over the last 2 days is to be patient and take small steps.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about just my weakness, I suppose, as best as I can understand it, because we all have weaknesses that we might not recognize. I think my main weakness is probably impatience. I'm reminded of a telephone conversation I had with one of our citizens, Trudy Warner, who said, it's great that you have a university education. It's great that you're aware of and can do all of these things. It's great that you have all of this experience with the government. But a lot of people are afraid that you're going to be leaving them behind without them understanding what's going on. And that's been the biggest lesson that I've been trying to learn since having that conversation, is understanding that, yes, I have all of these qualifications, but I have to be aware of the fact that just because I know about one half of the world, the outside world, doesn't mean that I can't forget the other half of the world, our inside world. And I think I'd have to rely on my colleagues to ensure that I'm balanced that way.
One of my weaknesses, I'd have to say public speaking. And I'd have to agree with Connie. And when I was on fisheries, I've always wanted to do more. We always had, expand everything, taking work home with me. Because, on fisheries, we had one of the best fisheries departments in NTC, and everybody looked up to us. because we just kept going 24/7 trying to improve things. So try not to do that as much anymore.
Thank you for that question. Problem I have is that I hate self-evaluation. That is a self-evaluation. I honestly hate doing that. I think, in fairness for myself, I would probably suggest that you talk to the people that I have been working with to get an honest opinion from them as to what they see as my weakness, and I wouldn't have any problems with that. I guess maybe if I really have to say there's a weakness, it's probably taking notes, which I'm trying to do, and I do write down all the questions. So, thank you.
I'm still trying to get over this mic staring me in the face. I was arguing with it last night. I guess one of my weaknesses was when I was first asked to work with the band to go fly all over the place there and be part of this LNG thing, and then to fly in that helicopter. I really was not keen on that one, but it worked out in the end. I got over that, and since then I felt as though, I really enjoy what I did, and I enjoyed talking to people, and that was, all the meetings in Vancouver, etc. I felt as though I really wanted to communicate with everybody. So I thought, well, I'd like to try and run for councillor, and hopefully I can be of value to everybody, right? So, thank you.
My biggest weakness would probably be my empathy, my big heart. I wear it on my sleeve. I don't know how many of you guys can see that from over there, but I'd like to learn how to get a tougher skin. I think I'm working on that every day, so that I can focus on the issue and not the emotion behind it.
Did you have a question?
My glasses on. I'm at that age where I can't see. So my name is Tammy Howard, and my question is, how would you encourage our administration and business to implement work experiences for our youth, as well as those that don't have jobs out there? I know there used to be job programs all the time, and I just don't see it as much as I used to. So that's sort of my question. And there was something else, but I forgot now because you guys are all yakking. Sorry. But that's it for now.
Okay, Connie.
Thanks, Tammy. Well, we need to work together. I keep saying that, with our businesses and with the government. And you're right, there was a lot more programs before, and there was work experience that was brought to the table that people were hired based on their experience. And I think we need to go back to that. And the only way we can do that is by working with HDC and giving the direction, not just to HDC, but to the administration, to create this plan where we can see programs to help people to get into the workforce. I don't see that we shouldn't be hiring based on your work experience and then supporting them to further their education while working. That worked before, and it can work again. There's lots that individuals can contribute, and we need to capitalize on that. And we need to start as well with the youth to get them into the workforce for summer jobs, seasonal jobs, so that they can start learning which area that they want to work in and go to school and get the education for these higher positions? Thanks.
Over the last couple of years, 3, 4, or maybe 5 years or something like that, it's been good to see some of our younger people get involved with, like, in logging, like Patrick and Dwayne and my young self into logging, driving a logging truck. I was doing a career change at 57 here. But yeah, I'd like to see, like, with our new government coming in, like, promote getting our youth involved in doing stuff, and then have an HDC, like what Connie said, you know, stem out from there. And then I hear also NETB, you know, doing stuff, or NETP. But that's how I worked at getting into, like, truck driving. Hello.
Thanks for the question, Tammy. I think it would involve heavy involvement from the HFN government as well as the HGC. And I think the way that I would approach it would be from high school, when kids are getting their first job, how we can assist there, and then while they're going to university, how we can help out there. And then going past that is when somebody's in their profession, what we see now is you need to always have continued education as you're going on, and in your trade or whatever career that you choose. And then going past that is when you're an elder, is how do we get our elders involved in all those areas, so that as they're in their careers is how we can bridge that to our cultural values as well.
Yeah, I better use the mic if you're going to talk some more, yeah.
Sorry, it's just because when I was younger, I know we used to go to the elders and, you know, clean up their yards or paint their houses, or I'm assuming it's, of course, from a program, right, from the for being a youth. I'd like to see that happen again, because I've seen Stella's post on Facebook about Angie Jo and her problems at her house, so, you know, that makes common sense for us to send somebody there. But with a program, our youth can go there and learn all of this stuff, carpentry, painting, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And sorry, I interrupted you.
Gee. I was done.
Oh, you're done? Okay. Yes, I agree to go back to that old program and encouraging more youth to get out there, not only to be mowing the lawns down in Lower Anakla, but more in all areas of the nation between HFN and HDC. More job fairs, not just focusing on LNG job fairs, but all the positions within the nation to be self-sufficient. Also more job shadowing, to getting them excited. And then again, leading by example and just encouraging the kids to get out there. I'm just trying to think back to, I was 10 years old when I started working, and that's because I liked buying 45s and clothes, and my parents I knew couldn't afford it, and so I'd knock on doors and say, "Can I mow your lawn?" So I just being probably encouraged and held up by the elders.
Thanks, Tammy, for the question. If I was an elected official, the way I see the government working towards offering more opportunities for our youth is to utilize the resources that we have currently within New Chana, such as NEDC, NETP, but also to encourage administration or applicable person for proposal writing. There is lots of funds out there that can be accessed to have those opportunities, work opportunity programs that you talk about, youth internships, also to have attendance at the NTC table and to see how other nations are doing it, how they're involving their youth, because at the end of the day, our youth are connected somehow. Our children have ties over in Mowatchit, Cayuga, Checklisset, so that unity within Nuu-Choneth as well. To have more training opportunities at home, to bring training home. NETP is continuously wanting to bring programs to the communities, and then to have bridge the relationships between the nation and HDC. We have a cafe with tons of postings. We have the campground, the West Coast Trail, etc. And I like to look and resource on like West Bank. I'll go on their website to see how they're doing it in their communities, and perhaps to have engagement with our youth and other treaty nations that are 5 or 10 years ahead of us, what they're doing. And
that's pretty close to time. I forgot to start the time.
Got to start it.
Okay. So I think one thing that we would need to do in order to get more youth involved is to kind of understand that a lot of young people today, especially when they're in high school and just getting out of high school, they don't know where to start. There's kind of a blank page syndrome. They don't know what's available to them and what they should do with their lives. Usually those children, those kids and those youth, they just go with what's easy or what's in front of them or what's, you know, what their parents found for them. What we need to do is get involved early, like what Trevor said, in education and help them stream and find their strengths and then stream them into positions that are created to help introduce them into the industries that they want to be involved, not only with the government, but also with our businesses, and maybe even businesses in general. I think I'm pretty close. But I think we also need to ensure that children and young people understand the value of putting in a hard day's work rather than and understand that work will equal reward. And the more work you do, the more reward you would get.
I think HDC does a good job with a lot of their work programs and training, like the logging that Patrick have been doing, the driver training. You know, and I think it's all right for our government to rely on outside funding, but if we're really committed to our youth, I mean, I don't think we should have funding from somewhere else. We should be able to provide that student training ourselves. If any student wants a job, you know, bring them in for a month or two to give them experience on all the aspects of our government. But I don't think we need to rely on anybody. I think it should be something we do ourselves. You know, outside funding is great, but, you know, we want to make a commitment, but, you know, let's make a commitment.
I think gone are the days of when our parents used to say, go help so-and-so cut wood, pile wood. And to me, that was more beneficial. And today, it's being compensated for it. And myself, I've always tried to, if I'm talking to young individuals that are still in school, ask them if they thought about what direction career they're looking at now, and start thinking about the courses you need to take to go in the direction that you're wanting to look at. And I think that's something that we probably should get our education staff to do with any of the students that we have in school right now. And if there are some of the more mature citizens that are interested in training, we can do that too. True.
The youth we're talking about are real young ones from down here? Because we used to have, remember, we used to have that beautification projects, and I know when I ran the campground, I'd pay people to build picnic benches and stuff for me, and go and gather wood, but I mean, that always made people money. Maybe these little ones here, they could use, you know, get paid for gardening or like making, you used to be a community garden and stuff there
too. Are you more targeting your question to the real little ones, or the ones that are, 17, 18? Pardon me? Okay. Well, there's training aspects. I just got to look into it at the office as well, what's available. Carry on from there, right? Just a suggestion for the little ones perhaps here, though. I don't know if there's still a beautification project or anything like that going on here. My opinion. Oh. Hey, yeah.
There's lots that we can do to get youth more involved with work experience. But I remember when I was in high school that there was actually a work experience program, and I'm sure that Huu-ay-aht could be more involved with that. They actually offer credits towards your graduation for work experience. I myself claimed 8 credits up myself while I was working for the Port Alberni Women's Society. I'm sure they've changed their name since then. But to elaborate on that too, I mean, it's not just getting them involved with work, but I mean, having opportunities for other events in our community, like family dinners and things like that. Thank you.
Well, what I thought of right away is my last job was I worked for BC Aboriginal Skills Group. And what they do is they go out to different communities, and whether it's for the youth or for the adults, whatever the community actually needs it for, is they can offer like red seal carpentry, painting, first aid, tons of other stuff, and the youth get paid for that while they're doing it. And use that as a foundation if you're speaking about the young children, like maybe painting, gardening, build a foundation off of that and kind of utilize what they're doing.
We were scheduled to go until 7, and it's getting close to 8. So I see that there's 2 people left there that have questions. So I think we'll just wrap up with these last 2 questions. I think that probably covers us. Jeff, and then Sarah. I wrote it down.
Okay, Jeff Cook. Thanks, Robert. Yathua. You've heard a lot of comments from the floor here, and you've heard lots of ideas, and I've heard passion from a lot of the candidates here. If you're elected council, give me, because you only got 2 minutes, or 1 minute, 1 minute, sorry, because you've only got 1 minute. If you're elected council, you'd have the ability to write a briefing note to your first or second council meeting. What would be your first and second priority? Because the reason I asked it because Robert's been on council, and I've been on council, and same with some of the people at the table. You have to come to some very tough decisions. You have to think things through. What's my priority? What's putting your personal biases and passion aside? What are some of your things you want to see go through? Thank you.
Starting with Ben. First and second priorities. Ben?
Me?
Yeah. There's only one Ben.
I think the first priority for me would be fairness to all Huu-ay-ahts. At home, away from home. Followed into education and jobs. Somebody want some extra time? That's it.
You're going to sell your time?
Roy does.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Trevor. Can I go? Yeah.
I guess my first and second priority, first one would be job creation for Huu-ay-ahts, And I guess the first step to that one is finding out the current state of where our Hawaiians are at and how we can help that. The second one involves our hereditary chiefs, our ta'i, and our elders, and as a council, how we can make a plan to heavily involve them in our day-to-day businesses and the decisions that we make as a council.
Tough to think of only two. I'm going to start with healing and health. I truly believe that until we do take care of our own health, that includes happiness, healing from why we're here today and why we fought for this treaty, for what the government and churches did to us, to heal that, and I believe that that's going to make us stronger to move as far as we possibly want to go. And that also includes drawing down the social services jurisdiction, because I found out what happens to those children when they end up in care, and it's an ongoing issue. So that would be my first. Second, economic development. I fear for year 8 when the government stops paying us money, and I want to hopefully ensure that Huu-ay-aht is financially sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Yahlua. My first priority is to bring unity, and that's going to start here at home through finding out what our elders and our youth want through potluck, through culture, through song and dance. And my second priority would be to hear from our elders, to hear from our youth, to see what their vision is, whether that's through community rounds or through community engagements with an open table. I feel as a citizen in the last 4 years, there has been no opportunity to speak what my thoughts are, which is one of the reasons I would like to have the opportunity to be on Huu-ay-aht Council.
I think my first priority would be to ensure that we're making good decisions on behalf of all Huu-ay-aht. And I think the way to do that is to ensure that we have the right strategies to interact with all of our people, no matter where they live, and ensure that their voices can be heard. But in addition to that, I would ensure that our hereditary leaders would have an effective voice to ensure that they can be involved in meaningful ways according to the way they want to be involved. My second priority would be to ensure that we do have a strong economy that is diversified. We rely much too much on forestry right now, but there are plenty of opportunities that we are currently exploring and that we could be exploring to ensure that we have a secure source of revenue so that when we do end up becoming self-sufficient, that all our eggs aren't in one basket. And that when we do invest in our businesses, we ensure that we're creating long-term sustainable jobs by creating businesses that can last into the long term.
I believe my number one priority would be investing in starting businesses to create employment opportunities for all Huu-ay-ahts. I think my second priority would be, make sure there's resources available for education and training for any Huu-ay-aht that would like to pursue anything.
I think we got quite a diverse group up here, and I think we're probably, in some respects, all have the same thoughts and views. For myself, I would like to see and ensure that we have a higher graduation rate of Huu-ay-aht citizens, young and old. If there's some of our, as I called earlier, mature Huu-ay-aht citizens that want to go back to school and graduate, we could look at that too. And the second would be the economy for Huu-ay-aht, to ensure that we have a sustainable economy which will benefit all for jobs, and then any funds we get from the government is going to be our contingency, which we'll be able to use for a lot of other programs. True.
I'd hope to be able to say that I've actually been doing my job right. Right? First off, right? And to pay attention to what I've learned from people who, what it is they want, and if I can bring that to people, other people's attention, and just to do the best we can, and work towards being able to sell our fish, work towards the education part of it. There is a huge open book as towards improvements and things that we can and should and try and will do, right? So, thank you.
As someone who's never worked on council before, personally, my first priority would be to learn directly what I'm going to be working on, and learn who I'm going to be working with. And then after I feel comfortable within that situation, then I can start looking at other priorities like our elders, like our jobs, like our schooling, our education. I can't focus on that until I know more directly what I'm going to be working with.
I think one of the first things that I would do is educate myself on the laws and how our council and our chief system works, because quite honestly, I don't know too much right now. And in order for me to do the best that I can for the people, that would be my #1 priority. And second is seeing what we can get going right away, seeing if we can call the BC Aboriginal Skills Group and see if there's possibilities for training to come here. And because clearly that seems like a hot topic. There's not enough jobs for people. So those would be my first 2 things.
Thank you. Sarah?
About me, Ken?
Oh, sorry.
Wow.
Did I do that to you again, Connie? Jeez, I'm sorry.
Twice.
Man, 3 strikes and you're out, eh? Out of there.
If elected to council, my #1 priority would be to educate myself on where the nation is at right now. Because, I mean, I'm not privy to all the documents that, this government has. So I would need to educate myself before I could start prioritizing and working together and drawing on the people that I'm working with and ensuring that the citizens are a part of the job that I'm going to do. Thanks.
Thanks, Connie. Sorry.
So I was originally going to ask the same question Jeff had, so I just kind of thought I'd go for a different answer or question. If elected over the next 4 years, how do you see us as a nation succeed in unlocking the wealth of our land?
Starting with you.
That's a good question to end with. I think what we'd see is that we'd see Huu-ay-aht citizens seeing growth in areas within our businesses, within our homeland, and within ourselves. And I think our best measuring stick over the next 4 years will be our citizens and how we engage with them and how they feel that we're proceeding and progressing.
Good question. I'm drawing blanks now. Unlocking the wealth of the land. I'm going to go back to tourism and in that it doesn't take much to take great pride in who we are and how we've lived on this land, and to be able to portray that to the rest of the world, and to have pride in doing that.
Thanks, Sarah. If elected, I understand we have a strategic plan. So to educate myself on how that strategic plan came about, the 20-year plan, and also for the government to work closely with Council of Hutway, and as well as involving our elders, because the wealth, there's plenty of it and a lot to learn. Thank you for your question.
Thanks for the question. I think the most important thing in terms of successfully unlocking the value of our land is making sure that we as a government have a good handle on what it is our land has to offer. And I think we need to make sure that we have a good inventory of all of the things that could happen on our territory, all of the activities that we would allow within the scope of sustainability and acceptability to our culture and the way that we do things. We need to have, for lack of a better term, an integrated resource management plan that includes all of our resources and lands, but we also need to have a handle on how we're going to use that land, and whether or not and how we are going to allow individual citizens to access that wealth so that they can build a life for themselves. But the watchword here is sustainability. We need to make sure that our land can sustain us over time, because our resources and our land form the foundation of our economy. And it's something that we need to really have a good handle on and focus on into the future.
I think we would do that through investing in tourism opportunities, opening up things, creating trails, cabins, and investing in our people that work here and know the area, tour guides. There's all kinds of different opportunities that I don't think we take advantage of.
I think for myself, that would be providing opportunities for businesses to come onto Huu-ay-aht's settlement lands, to lease the lands so that we can get the revenue that way. The reason I say that is that the forestry is slowing down, and trees are taking forever to grow, so that's going to be, we won't be able to count on that too much. And there was something else in my mind, but it slipped all of a sudden. But that's what, to me, it would be the opportunity for businesses to come lease land, and making sure that we're okay. And I remember, extraction of minerals is something that, if I recall correctly, that was something that was not to happen at the present time, as my understanding. So for extracting minerals, that we wouldn't be able to do any of that. True.
First, I'd have to realize whether I'm doing my job right. I have to understand all of which and everything that is available to us. Perhaps coming up with new suggestions, new ideas. Paying attention to what I'm here to do, without the knowledge of what's there and what I'm able to. It's easy to say I'll do this and do that, but there's probably lots of things that where it's impossible. But have other people's. I got to know what's going on. If elected, I mean, I need to find out what's running the boat, right? I really do, right? So without knowing or having any knowledge of any of that at present, I mean, even a question prior to this, I mean, what would be my first two things? Well, having recognition that maybe I'm doing something right, So.
Unlocking the wealth of our land. There's, I'm sure, tons and tons of wealth that we can look into, but I want to know where it is. First of all, I mean, like looking into studies to find out where we have bounty, plentifulness, and keeping in mind that we do want to be open for business and actually entertaining all of the opportunities fairly, I guess. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I think what I would do is that I would hope. I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm so tired. What would pass?
Thanks, Sarah. I have to say you've had some really good questions over the last 2 days. As a nation, unlocking the wealth of our land, definitely embracing the opportunities that are out there that present themselves, that we as a nation create ourselves or entertain from others. And being open-minded to the growth and the change that is going to happen with unlocking the wealth, while still maintaining the respect that we have as the people for the land. Thank you.
Excuse me. I think of what Connie said earlier. She said, educate herself. And I think of educating the elected government on, I think of Nisga'a. Nisga's had their treaty for 14 years. And maybe engaging with Nisga'a and asking them about the ins and outs of how they did this through their treaty on this part, and the wealth of their land, and how they've managed in the last 14 years. Chu?
Well, we're going to give everybody one more minute to make their final pitch, and then we'll wrap it up. And I just want to remind everybody that there is one more all-candidates meeting that's scheduled for the night before the election in Port Alberni. So on the 19th of June at the Barclay Hotel at 6 o'clock, I believe, in the same format. So we're going to reverse the order of the first speakers, and Ben, we're going to start with you, and we're going to work backwards towards this end. Ben, Connie, Kiana, and so on.
Okay, I'll make this real short. Okay, the treaty was negotiated for all Huu-ay people. The Huu-ay people should be treated equal and fairly. Our new government should work for our people. If I'm elected for council, I would like to carry on the work I've done in the past terms for all Huu-ay citizens. Chu?
First of all, I would like to thank you again for taking the time to come and listen and ask questions tonight. I would really like to work for you as your, either as an elected councillor or as your elected chief councillor. So I hope that over these last 2 days that I've been able to answer your questions and share with you my vision and how I feel. And again, I want to let you know that I'm open for any discussion that you'd like to have, or if you didn't ask a question or thought about another question that you weren't able to answer or ask tonight. I'm willing to sit with you or talk with you on the phone or whatever it is that you like. But thank you again.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for being here, and I'm grateful and honored to be sitting here today. Thanks again, Jeff, for nominating me and all the other people who believed in me. I'm tired. Let's go to bed.
I'm really glad that I got the opportunity to sit here with everyone today and answer questions and talk about really hard issues. I encourage everyone to reach out if they'd like to talk to me. Again, I don't unfortunately have a Port Alberni phone number for you guys to get a hold of me, but you can get a hold of me by email, brittany.johnson@hotmail.com. And if you can't get a hold of me through email, get a hold of someone. They'll get a hold of me, and they'll get a hold of my parents, or they'll get a hold of me. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good night.
I'd be honored and privileged if elected to work for everybody here. Also, I guess in closing here, I'd like to honor all our other nominees and wish everybody good luck. I think we've been doing good. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Chu Tleko for toughening it out with us here to the bitter end. I think it's almost 3 hours that we've been here, so thank you. For myself, again, thank you for electing me for the first official Huu-ay-aht government under the treaty. And I'd be honored if you were to vote for me to be your representative again on June the 20th. And I will continue to work hard for you all and be available, as I always have been, at Port Alberni office. And as I mentioned earlier, I'll make better efforts to go to other citizens in other areas. True.
Well, I have to agree with Roy and Jack. I think it would be an honor to get elected to council. Something I've thought about for a while. And if anybody wants any answers, has any more questions, can always contact me, and I'll be free to meet anybody anywhere. Thank you.
I too would thank everyone for being here and anyone who's tuning in and for staying for as long as you have. I suppose the most important thing is that it would be an honor to be selected again to be a part of the team to help lead us into the future. And that I'd like to think that I have useful skills, both practical and academic, and I have proven experience in not only our staff and administration, but also in government, going back to the pre-treaty era. And I just want to let you know that I would be proud to be once again a part of a team dedicated to the promise of a future that is nothing but bright. And that I have a lot of ideas and a lot of platform items, and you can look them up on my website, johnislandjack.ca. Thank you.
Good evening. I'd like to thank fellow Huu-ay-aht citizens that took the time to come out this evening, as well as those that are logged in through streaming. I was raised here in the community of Anakla, and my visit always seems short. I had planned in my head coming down that I wanted to walk the beach. The road's very dusty, and I look forward to more trips home throughout the summer. I also ask you to contact me should you have further questions in why I'm running for our Huu-ay-aht government on Saturday, June 20th. My platform will continue to be leading change through unity. And it's been a great experience through the campaign period to connect with fellow Huu-ay-aht citizens over the phone and coming down to Anakla, as well as last night. And I am tired, and
your time's up.
My time's up.
Tleko to all for coming out tonight and asking your great questions to the twins over there. Good job. And to all those that are tuning in on the internet, hello again. I would be honored to be reelected to have another kick at the can at council. It's been a great experience for the past 4 years. I have learned a lot, and just within the first year, I would like to bring those skills back and to build on those to help each and every Huu-ay-aht and everything that encompasses Huu-ay-aht. I want to ensure The treaty benefits all, an open, transparent nation, more accountability. I want to be a part of Huu-ay-aht's success. I want to ensure no one is left behind. And thank you. Taiko.
All right. Thank you for everybody for coming out. I'm going to try to pile in a whole bunch of things here really quickly. Last month, I started my own business as a tourism consultant, and my first job was working with the Toquat First Nation, who also signed the treaty. Smaller nation who got less money, and I seen where they're feeling the strain right now. In that, starting my own business through NEDC, I was invited to an economic forecast held by NEDC. And looking at where the industries are at right now, there is possible opportunities coming up within the next 4 years. If I'm elected in council, I commit myself to making sure that as a government and as an organization that we explore all those opportunities and make use of those for our citizens. Thank you. Chu.
Thank you to all the candidates. It's been a grueling afternoon, and thank you to everybody for coming out and asking your great questions, and look forward to seeing you again on the 19th, and certainly look forward to seeing you at the polling station on June 20th. Thank you very much.